I'm playing Marvel Legends. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Request for M134. Tony Stark's operation was very successful, with Stephen Strange's medical skills, and Marfa's full level 3 healing skills. Not to mention a few shrapnel. Even if Tony's skeleton was injected with adamantium, Marfa could ensure that he would not die on the operating table. Of course, if this were done, Tony would definitely not survive the operation. After all, not all milk is called Delansu. Ahem, it should be said that not all men are called Wolverine. Dorascus, Pepper Potts and Stephen Strange, who witnessed and participated in the entire operation, were also shocked by Marfa's methods. If it was said that Tony had agreed to the operation only because of his power and money before, then Stephen has begun to have a strong curiosity about Marfa, especially the magic that can subvert people's cognition, which makes Stephen sigh. Sir, congratulations on your successful resurrection. Jarvis congratulated Tony, who had just walked out of the operating room. Really? But this also means that your vacation is over. We have to start transforming the armor. Now that Tony no longer has the arc reactor in his chest, the previous armor power supply method must be adjusted. Therefore, Tony is already eager to try it out. I'm happy to serve you. After calming down his excitement, Tony paid the balance to the Life Fund's external representative, Dorascus. Dr. Scus, thank you for your help. Are you interested in working for me? I am very optimistic about your professional level. Tony Stark's old problem came back. Seeing that Dora was good-looking, he immediately had a bad idea and wanted to try out the endurance of this body that had just recovered. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark, I have no plans to change jobs, and I already have a child. Who in the whole United States doesn't know what kind of person Tony is? She slept with 11 of the 12 female models on the cover of Vanity Fair magazine. The reason why she missed one was that she happened to be on her menstrual period. Of course, Tony was not the one who would suffer a loss. One of the female models happened to be twins, so, such a playboy, Dora, a strong woman who is obsessed with scientific research, naturally avoided him. Do you have a child? Okay. Tony said with some regret, but then he seemed to think of something. How old is she? Dora, did I do something wrong? I shouldn't clone any flesh and blood for him. It's better for the scum to die. Dora thought secretly in her heart. Mr. Marfa Maximoff, right? I am very curious and interested in your ability. This may open the door to a new world for medical research. As the chief scientific representative of the Life Foundation Group, I sincerely invite you to visit our company and hope to reach cooperation with you in some life medical technology. Dora ignored Tony, who was thinking about tadpoles at the moment, and turned to invite Marfa. This is a good relationship. Just send a pillow when you are sleepy. Originally, I was worried about how to get into the Life Foundation and complete the task assigned by Nick Fury. Isn't this opportunity coming to you now? Thank you for your invitation, we will definitely go. Toby, who was standing by, heard this and immediately came up to say, "Who are you?" Dora looked at Toby and asked in confusion. I'm sorry, I'm so abrupt. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tobey Maguire, Mr. Maximoff's assistant. Assistant? Dora looked at Pepper, then at Tony, then at Marfa and Toby. She shuddered suddenly. Your circle is so messy. After seeing off Dora and Stephen, the group returned to the living room of the beach villa again. Marfa, you did a great job. I'm starting to like you a little. Tony originally wanted to say thank you, but how could he, who was so proud, say it so easily, so he immediately changed his words. Like me? Marfa, Cyrillic letter D Cyrillic letter D, frightened. I didn't expect you to be like this, Tony. Ms. Potts. Just call me Pepper. Thank you very much for your help. At least I don't have to change my boss. Pepper said with gratitude. Well, okay, Pepper, as Tony's personal assistant, I think you need to help him change his orientation. As he said that, Marfa picked up a banana from the table and straightened it. Tony. Okay, I take back what I just said. You are still as annoying as before. Tony said with a dark face. Same here. Marfa retorted without showing any weakness. But soon, as if he thought of something, Tony, who had originally decided not to talk to Marfa, turned his head back again. Then let's talk about the bald woman next, okay? Pepper, Mr. McGuire may be a little hungry, you can take her to the restaurant downstairs to eat something. As he said that, Tony also deliberately sent Pepper and Toby away. No, Tony, Pepper is really nice. Are you sure you like her more? Marfa touched his head while speaking, and the implication of his words was self-evident. This was the 6th time Tony had mentioned Ancient One to him, and it was obvious that Ancient One had left a deep impression on him. Apart from Pepper, Marfa had never seen Tony so concerned about any other woman. Marfa, you'd better be serious, Tony Stark is not so easy to bully. Obviously, Tony was really fed up with Marfa's repeated and vicious words, and there was a bit of anger in his words. Okay, then you can go find her slowly. To be honest, I don't believe you can find her, even with Jarvis' help. Do you think I'm right, Jarvis? Sir, Mr. Maximov is right. I have compared the character images you sorted out with the nearly 6.6 billion people in the world, especially women between the ages of 20 and 50. I didn't find the person you were looking for. Jarvis said truthfully. You win. Tell me your terms. Tony gave in again. Tony Stark used to be able to get whatever he wanted, but he was frustrated by this young man. It was really sad. I want 2 M134 rapid-fire machine guns. They are repairable if they break down, and at least 10 boxes of ammunition. M134 rapid-fire machine gun? Tony frowned when he heard that. As a weapons expert, he naturally knew what Marfa was talking about. M134 rapid-fire machine gun, many people may not be able to react to the name, but if it is called another way, Vulcan cannon, super Gatling, 7.62 mm bullet, the maximum rate of fire can reach 6,000 rounds per minute, 800 meters effective range, 5,000 meters stray bullet range. The gun body itself weighs 26 kilograms, and the 6 barrels are driven by a motor to rotate at high speed, known as the most powerful firepower. Once the gun is fired, it can be said to be a storm of metal. But the question is, Marfa obviously has a strong power, what does he need the M134 for? Is he preparing to transform? But that's not right. Why the M134? You know, although the thing has a strong firepower, it has a very poor accuracy and is usually only used as fire suppression on the battlefield. If it is to shoot people, it is very good to hit 1 out of 40 shots. After all, he is a former CEO of a military enterprise and has many weapons with far greater power than the M134. Since he wants hot weapons, why not have more powerful ones, such as the Jericho missile? How about it? Can you tell me if it's okay or not? Marfa urged. Can you tell me what you want to do? If you are planning to carry out a terrorist attack, I would rather not find that person. Tony has principles. Although he has many weapons, he doesn't want his weapons to be used to hurt innocent people again. Do you think I still need this thing if I want to carry out a terrorist attack? After saying that, Marfa immediately took out a thick stack of amulets and threw it on the table. Then he casually pulled out a piece and threw it out the window. Soulfire talisman. Boom. The explosion sounded, the flames flickered, and the heat wave rolled for a while. At this time, Tony immediately retreated more than 10 meters, looking at the amulet just placed in front of him with a look of horror. It's not that he hasn't seen the Soulfire talisman that Marfa used before, but that was just from the video provided by Jarvis. And the video is a video after all, how can it be as shocking as seeing it in person? A piece of yellow paper actually has such power. The thick stack on the table must have hundreds of pieces. If it explodes. Gudong. Tony couldn't help but swallow deeply. The man in front of him is definitely a lunatic. Tony has made up his mind that he must wear the iron armor in advance when he meets Marfa next time, otherwise he will not feel safe at all. Okay, put it away. I'll give you what you want. When will we set off? In addition, if you don't mind, I want to study that little piece of paper. Tony said with some fear. The previous bombing in Afghanistan left him with an indelible shadow, and he didn't want to get hit again just after he had recovered. Chapter 102, Sweeping the Third Floor of Walmer. At night, still on the balcony of the Seaview Villa. Letting the sea breeze blow on his cheeks, Marfa's face was flushed and his heart was surging. Tony had already given Marfa the M134 and 10 boxes of ammunition. Everything was ready, and Marfa was naturally ready to slay the dragon. Skills or props not allowed by the system can only force 1 point of damage in the legendary world. In other words, even if Marfa threw a nuclear bomb at the Scarecrow would only lose 1 point of blood. And the system will directly erase the continuous damage caused by nuclear radiation. According to this theory, if a handful of sand can cause damage to monsters, then Marfa can kill most monsters in seconds by throwing a handful of sand. But obviously, the system also has its own judgment criteria. If the damage is too small, it will not cause damage. After many attempts, Marfa finally estimated this value to the extent of a stone hiding a monster. Thinking back to the beginning, Marfa worked hard to test this. For example, a homemade gasoline bomb will only cause 1 point of damage to the monster in an instant after the explosion, and the subsequent burning damage and shock wave will be directly erased by the system. After all, the system is not stupid, and it is impossible to let Marfa directly use a bunch of hot weapons to flatten the Marfa continent. P.S. You should all know this, the name of the legendary continent is Marfa continent, which is also the origin of the protagonist's name, but a living person can't be suffocated to death by urine, right? Marfa easily found the bug set by the system. That is the frequency. As long as the firing rate is fast and can exceed the system's judgment value, it can break the rules of the game and kill monsters with props that the system does not recognize. The M134 rapid-fire machine gun is undoubtedly the leader among them. Let's not talk about the ideal situation of 6,000 rounds per minute. Even if it is conservatively calculated at 4,000 rounds per minute, one bullet deducts 1 point of blood, which is equivalent to the total output of more than 100 soul fire symbols of Marfa. And can Marfa shoot more than 100 soul fire symbols in 1 minute? Obviously not. This is the confidence of Marfa to pass the 3rd floor of Woma, and it is also Marfa's trump card to kill the leader of Woma. It's just a pity that Xiaobei in the legendary world has no independent consciousness and cannot learn to shoot. Otherwise, one person and one skeleton, sweeping the 3rd floor of Woma is not a matter of minutes. The entrance to the 3rd floor of Woma Temple. Is Xiaobei ready? Looking at the M134 rapid-fire machine gun in his hand, Marfa is full of confidence at this time. Kirakura. As if responding to Marfa, the toolman Xiaobei immediately moved his chin a few times, which can be said to be giving Marfa enough face. Then why don't you get in? As soon as the voice fell, Marfa kicked Xiaobei's skeleton directly. Kicked it to the 3rd floor of Woma Temple. Fortunately, this is the legendary world, Xiaobei has no consciousness. If it was the Xiaobei in Marfa's backpack that was temporarily sealed by the amulet, I'm afraid he would just turn around, grab Marfa's leg and bring it down to block himself. Arriving at the 3rd floor of Woma, as expected by Marfa, there were densely packed monsters everywhere. In just a blink of an eye, Marfa's health dropped a lot. Xiaobei's health was even lower. Fuck. So fierce. At the critical moment, Marfa immediately cast an invisibility spell on himself. There were almost no monsters on the 3rd floor of Woma that could break the invisibility ability. With Marfa's invisibility spell, Marfa immediately disappeared from the sight of many monsters. And Xiaobei also successfully turned from a living skeleton into a pile of bone residue. Alice. It's really hard for you. Because he was afraid of moving and removing the invisibility effect, Marfa immediately summoned a new Xiaobei again. While casting healing spells on him, he picked up the M134 and started shooting at the monsters. I have to say, Xiaobei is really useful. The bone frame seemed to be designed for the buttstock. Marfa didn't let it attack either, so Xiaobei stood there straight to protect Marfa from the damage. Because the monsters were too dense, they were shoulder to shoulder, so the only ones who could really hurt Xiaobei were the 5 or 6 in front of him, plus the Dark Warriors with long-range attack capabilities. With the support of Marfa's continuous healing skills, Xiaobei could hold on for dozens of seconds. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. The muzzle of the M134 was like a flamethrower, spraying bullets out crazily at a rate of about 4,000 rounds per minute. Since Tony specially prepared armor-piercing bullets for Marfa, each bullet could continue to cause damage to the monster behind it for a second or even 3 times after penetrating the monster's body. The metal storm continued to sweep away, and in less than 10 minutes, many of the monsters around were cleared. Looking at the overheated muzzle, Marfa made a quick decision and immediately took out another spare M134 from his backpack. Continue. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. The flames kept spitting out, and Xiaobei died one after another. The bodies of Woma warriors, Flame Woma, Dark Warriors, and the bones of Xiaobei were everywhere. For a time, Corpses were everywhere, blood flowed like a river, and roars and wails filled the entire third floor of the Woma temple. And what about Marfa? Looking at the kill prompts that kept flashing in front of his eyes, and the experience bar that kept expanding and trembling, his smile was even brighter than a chrysanthemum. It is no exaggeration to say that every man has a dream of guns and a dream of mechas. Why can Suburaya's Ultraman series be popular from the 1990s to the 1920s, spanning 2 generations? Isn't it because Ultraman's huge body and powerful combat power fit the men's dream of mechas in disguise? Nowadays, although mechas are hopeless, Marfa has truly experienced the dream of a gun. Especially a gun like the M134 that has achieved the ultimate in a certain field. What does it mean to fire 6,000 rounds per minute? 100 rounds per second. This refreshing feeling hit Marfa's heart. Soon, the monsters in sight were suppressed by Marfa's powerful firepower and were almost all cleared. Marfa's level also successfully reached level 21. The layout of the third floor of Woma is very different from that of the first and second floors. Its internal structure is roughly similar to the middle character, with a smaller mouth added to the top and bottom. In short, there are 3 rooms, 1 large and 2 small, arranged in a row, with a passage running through the middle. And what Marfa just cleared was just a monster in the small room at the top. Even so, it also provided Marfa with nearly 1/3 of the current level upgrade experience. He skillfully used the Soulfire Talisman to finish off the remaining few residual blood monsters. Marfa immediately began to collect the spoils. Potions? No. Equipment? Not at all unless it is top quality. Gold coins? This is a must, the amulet printer is still counting on them. I never thought that I would be so picky. Marfa is so picky. I was so moved that I cried JPG. After quickly dealing with his spoils, Marfa took Xiaobei and continued to walk towards the passage. Because that was the real main battlefield of this battle. And the Wamor leader was located in the center of the large room in the middle. Unlike the previous small room, this time because the space was larger, it was easier to be killed by monsters, so Marfa planned to be more conservative and first learned the skilled book that had been covered in dust in the backpack for a long time, Group Invisibility. Unlike invisibility, Group Invisibility is to throw the amulet at the friendly target, so that all friendly units within a radius of 3 meters near the friendly target enter the invisible state. Like invisibility, in the state of Group Invisibility, you cannot move, otherwise you will lose the invisibility effect. Following the passage to the large room in the middle, Marfa immediately cast a Group Invisibility on Xiaobei. In an instant, Xiaobei became a semi-transparent existence in Marfa's eyes. Marfa, because he was very close to Xiaobei, also enjoyed the effect of Group Invisibility and entered the invisible state. It was still the same M134, and Xiaobei was still the buttstock. The only difference was that the monsters could no longer see Xiaobei this time. They could only see Marfa, the target to attack them. P.S. In the invisible state, the attacked object can see the caster, The metal storm began to sweep again. A large wave of monsters immediately pushed and squeezed towards Marfa. But when they came in front of Marfa, an invisible object blocked them in front. There was no doubt that this was Xiaobei, who was ordered by Marfa not to move and acted as a gun rack. Seeing fresh flesh and blood in front of them, the monsters could not touch it. One by one, their eyes immediately turned red with anxiety and they shouted one after another. However, due to the restrictions of the system rules, no monster would think of knocking over the invisible thing in front of them first, and then attacking Marfa. Therefore, apart from roaring helplessly, the monsters could only try to squeeze towards Marfa as if they had lost their minds. This trick was not actually invented by Marfa. The rational use of the blocking game mechanism was a must-have skill for every legendary player back then. P.S. Actually, I forgot if this is the case, but I wrote it like this. Please don't criticize me, old players. Relying on the blocking effect, Marfa is like a fish in water. Apart from changing the magazine, he only needs to add a group invisibility spell from time to time, and then hold the trigger tightly. A piece of -1, -1, -1. Dense red characters floated in front of my eyes, like a bright red wave, overflowing with the joy of a good harvest. Chapter 103, The Wammer Cult Leader, Part 1. More than 3 hours later, looking at his experience bar that was about to be filled again, Marfa's mentality had already collapsed. M134, combined with the dense monsters on the third floor of Wammer, is simply a level-up artifact. At this time, Marfa seemed to have seen himself promoted to level 50, with one hand pressing Thanos' head and the other hand rubbing Hela's. Ahem, I'm getting off topic. Now there are only 2 monsters left in the entire Wammer Temple. One is the rare monster Wammer Guardian that Marfa has encountered once, and the other is the Wammer Cult Master standing on the formation platform in the center of the central room. After thinking for a moment, Marfa decided to deal with this small one first. After all, the Wammer Cult Master has the teleportation skill, and if he runs around at that time, it will be very troublesome. Ziobe, come on. This time Marfa no longer used the previous table tennis method, and directly ordered Ziobe to walk towards the Wammer Guardian. -27, -32, -28. Cyrillic letter there. What the hell, the damage of the Wammer Guard is so high? Ziobe currently has only 84 HP. And he was almost killed by the Wammer Guard's 3 consecutive slashes. I have to say that the Wammer Guard is really strong. If I go up, I'm afraid I can't stand a few hits. Ziobe, have a good journey, I will miss you. As soon as the voice fell, Ziobe, who was just full of vigor and vitality, instantly turned into a pile of bones. It's so terrifying. Not to mention the fast attack speed, but the damage is so high. This is just a Wammer Guard. What if it was the Wammer cult leader? Marfa couldn't help but shudder. Fortunately, there's M134, otherwise it would be really disgusting. Summon skeleton technique. Throw out another amulet, and another Ziobe is born. This time, Marfa didn't dare to waste time anymore. He directly got stuck in a corner and let Ziobe stand in front of him like before. Marfa cast a group invisibility spell on Ziobe. Then, bang, 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 bang. The metal storm instantly enveloped the Wammer Guard. However, as Tony Stark said, the firepower of the M134 rapid-fire machine gun is indeed very strong, but the hit rate is too touching. There were many monsters before, so it was okay. The hit rate didn't matter. Just shoot. But now, when fighting a single-player battle, the M134 is a little weak. Can you believe the outline of the human body? This won't work. Marfa frowned and immediately thought of a countermeasure. Soon, Marfa's eyes flashed and he thought of a way. Soulfire Talisman. 26. The talisman exploded directly on the Wammer Guard, causing 26 points of damage to it immediately. Feeling the severe pain, the Wammer Guard immediately quickened his pace and rushed towards Marfa. The moon in the well and the wolf fang blade in his hands kept waving in front of his chest, flashing with cold light, as if he wanted to cut off Marfa's head directly. Soon, the Wammer Guard had come close to Marfa, but it seemed that his body was blocked by the invisible Ziobe. The Wammer Guard was just like the brainless monster before, just rushing forward, as if he had completely forgotten the weapon in his hand. Is it true? Another stubborn one. Do you know how to kill close to the face? The hit rate of M134 is indeed very low, but what if you shoot directly at the belly? With Ziobe blocking in front of him, Marfa was not worried that the Wammer Guard would cut him. So, bang, 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 bang. With only 1,000 blood points, he was taken away by the metal storm in less than 20 seconds. Cool. Looking at the glittering crystals on the ground, Marfa didn't care about anything else and immediately picked them up into his backpack without saying a word. In addition to the red potion, blue potion and solar water, the Wammer Guard dropped a necklace this time. Life necklace, superb, durability. 5/6, accuracy, +1, magic. 1-6, +1, magic required. 25. Good stuff, I didn't expect it to be a life necklace. As one of the most beautiful necklaces in the legendary game, the appearance of the life necklace alone makes people unable to stop. The pendant is the size of a pebble and the shape of a water drop. The whole is translucent like a gem. The gem is composed of 5 parts and 4 colors. From top to bottom, from left to right, they are pink, purple, pink, blue and yellow. At first glance, it looks as gorgeous as a rainbow. In addition to the pendant of the necklace itself is also made of a royal blue metal. It is high-end, fashionable and upscale, and it is simply impeccable. Most importantly, the life necklace is the same as the platinum necklace that Marfa gave to Natalia before. It has no level requirement. As long as the magic strength meets the standard, it can be worn. Since Natalia has been given one before, it is obvious that this life necklace will be given to Wanda. After all, this worrying sister has been busy for a long time for herself. Although she was driven out by George Stacy in the end, she has worked hard even if she has no credit, right? Thinking of this, Marfa immediately put away the life necklace with a smile. This is very nice. If I give this thing to Wanda, she should be less aggressive towards me in the future. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately began to think about the strategy of the Wamor leader. After all, unlike the Wamor guards, the Wamor leader does not hold double blades like the Wamor guards. But this guy's attack method is a rare type in the legendary world that integrates magic attacks into physical attacks. Every time he waved his hands, the Wamor cult master could form a strong electric current between his claws, stimulating the potential of cells to increase damage while causing more powerful damage to the opponent. Based on this alone, Marfa's previous blocking method might not work. God knows whether the lightning in the hands of the Wamor cult master will cause damage to himself through Xiaobei. And look at the Wamor cult master's body that is like the Hulk. Marfa doesn't want to try the feeling of being hit by him. After pondering for a moment, Marfa finally decided to use the table tennis tactics as the safest. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately took Xiaobei and quietly went behind the Wamor cult master and fixed Xiaobei in place. Then he went around to the front of the Wamor cult master again, so that the Wamor cult master and Xiaobei formed a 3-point-1 line layout. Soulfire Talisman. A lavender light flashed, and this time the Soulfire Talisman started from Xiaobei's position and attacked the Wamor cult master. 19. Roar. The angry roar instantly filled the entire third floor of the Woma temple. For a moment, the walls and the ground began to tremble. Countless stone chips kept falling from the ceiling. Then, the hands of the Woma leader began to flash with lightning. For a moment, countless arcs of electricity jumped on his claws. The momentum alone made Marfa tremble in his heart. After enduring the attack from Xiaobei, the Woma leader was naturally furious and immediately walked towards Xiaobei's position. Poisoning. Poisoning. Red poison. Poisoning. Green poison. Marfa saw the opportunity and immediately cast 3 different poisoning spells on the Woma leader. As a result, the Woma leader naturally turned green, and with his strong muscles and tall body, he looked like a green giant with wings and a bull's head. Achoo, puff. Suddenly, the footsteps of the Wamor cult leader abruptly paused, and he actually sneezed. Then a lump of dark green semi-solid fell from between his thighs. Fortunately, the Wamor cult leader does not have independent consciousness like Agatha. As a game monster, shame? It doesn't exist. He continued to walk towards Xiaobei. Achoo, puff. The figure of the Wamor cult leader was set back again. There is no doubt that there is another pile of feces on the third floor of Wamor. Ha ha ha. As expected, this improved version of poisoning is very effective. Chapter 104, The Wamor Cult Leader, Part 2. Hit by Marfa's triple poisoning technique, the Woma cult master's movement speed and defense power were greatly reduced. In fact, because of the existence of the green poison, the Woma cult master not only could not recover blood, but also kept losing blood. Although the amount of blood loss is a bit touching, it is indeed losing blood, isn't it? Seeing the Woma cult master slowly approaching Xiaobei, Marfa immediately took out a big guy from his trouser pocket, from his backpack, M134. Shoot. After connecting to the space node behind the Woma cult master, although the M134 could not achieve the same 100% accuracy as the face-to-face killing of the Woma guard just now, the hit rate was almost improved from 40 to 1 in 2. Muda muda. Muda muda. 1, -1, -1, -1, -1. For a moment, countless bright red numbers floated over the head of the Woma cult master, which made Marfa smile. But, facing the hail of bullets, the Wamor cult leader actually had no intention of turning back to attack Marfa, and continued to walk straight towards Xiaobei. Oh no, the single damage is too low, and it can't draw back the hatred of the Wamor cult leader. Marfa thought to himself that it was not good, and immediately prepared to cast the Soulfire Talisman to draw back the hatred. But at this moment, the Wamor cult leader had already walked close to Xiaobei. -32, -28, -30. A series of numbers passed by at a very fast speed, and Xiaobei died gloriously again. Marfa. Damn. Is it so fast? The attack speed of the Wamor cult leader is simply amazing. Xiaobei was gone in a few snaps, and Marfa trembled. After all, the boss is the boss. Even if the Wamor cult leader is one of the most unimpressive bosses in the legendary world, this still cannot change the essence of his boss. The reason why Marfa was able to hold on for so long was partly due to his profession as a Taoist priest. The Woma cult leader had been heading for Xiaobei at the beginning. Of course, the most important thing was Achoo, puff, the Woma cult leader had another sneeze. Every time he sneezed, the Woma cult leader would be stuttered, greatly reducing its movement speed. Good fellow, come again. Summon skeleton technique. Xiaobei, just stand there and don't move. Do you understand? Marfa ordered. Karakura. Xiaobei, who had just been summoned, glanced at the bones of his predecessor not far away, shuddered violently, and then made a Karakura sound very honestly. Ignoring Xiaobei, Marfa immediately ran while adding poisoning techniques to the Woma cult leader. Poisoning techniques. Poisoning techniques. Red poison. Poisoning techniques. Green poison. Soon, the 3.1 line pattern was formed again. With Xiaobei as the node again, 2 soul fire talismans were shot at the Woma cult leader in succession. Boom. Boom. The explosion of the soul fire talisman sounded. 18, minus 17. The bright red numbers floated over the head of the Woma leader again. Feeling the pain on his body, the Woma leader immediately turned around and walked slowly towards Xiaobei. Achoo, puff, achoo, puff, walking and pulling all the way. A strong and heavy strange smell floated near the central formation altar on the 3rd floor of Woma. How to say it? It's a bit like the smell of stinky tofu and snail noodles, plus a large spoonful of cow dung. In short, it makes people sad and tears come to people who see it. However, the Woma leader did not change his face and continued to walk slowly towards Xiaobei. Even if he stepped in his own excrement, he didn't feel it. The big baby was taken out of Marfa's trouser pocket again, cough cough, from the backpack. Shoot you. Muda. M134 immediately spit out flames again. Under the scorching flames, the smell on the ground became even stronger. Occasionally, some stray bullets missed and hit the green and blue feces of the Woma cult master, which would immediately explode into a cloud of feces. This was a baptism of feces and fire. Soon, the Woma cult master approached Xiaobei again. This time, Marfa did not hesitate and directly used the soul fire talisman. After the hatred was taken back, he continued to shoot. As a result, the dignified Woma cult master became a ping-pong ball that could only poop and sneeze, constantly wandering back and forth between Xiaobei and Marfa. Soon, the 5,000-point health bar of the Woma cult master reached the bottom under the concentrated fire of the M134. Swoosh! Seeing that he could not defeat this shameless, vulgar and despicable guy in front of him, the Woma cult master decisively chose to teleport away. Ha! I knew you could do this trick. Marfa raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and immediately began to look for the figure of the Woma cult master on the 3rd floor of Woma. Along the way, many monsters have already started to refresh. Fortunately, Marfa has the invisibility spell, and relying on the invisibility spell to eliminate the hatred value, he successfully bypassed the monsters that had just been refreshed. Soon, in the small room below, Marfa found the figure of the Woma cult master. However, due to the poison spell, a thick layer of shit slurry had already piled up under the Woma cult master at this time. The key is that this guy is still standing on his own shit like a tool man, as if this is a very enjoyable thing. Soul Fire Talisman. 17. Soul Fire Talisman. 19. 2 consecutive soul fire talismans were thrown over. Marfa's face suddenly became gloomy. Because the talisman exploded when it touched the Woma cult master, it actually blew up the shit on the ground. Since telekinesis cannot be used in the game, Marfa was immediately hit. Even after being hit by the shitig, Marfa actually lost blood. 1, minus 1, minus 1. This, is it self-inflicted? Damn the poisoning skill. Feeling the stench emanating from his body, Marfa's mentality almost collapsed. More than 30 seconds later. I will not close my eyes in my death. With an unwilling roar, the Woma leader finally fell in a pool of blood, shit. A golden light fell, and countless shiny treasures were neatly arranged on the feces on the ground. And Marfa's character level has also successfully reached level 22. It's obviously dropped by the boss. Why don't I want to pick it up at all? Of course, this is just a thought. Under the temptation of the best equipment, Marfa resisted the stickiness and still walked towards the pile of drops from the Woma leader. Woma horn. Well, this will be given to the archer guard, but I don't know if he minds the smell. How about washing it for him later? Thinking of this, Marfa immediately continued to pick up the treasure. Powerful solar water? Take this back to Tony Stark to replenish his health. He has just recovered from a serious illness and should be able to use it. Wind potion? Take this back to Pietro to drink. It temporarily increases his attack speed and is suitable for him. Mana potion? Take this back to Wanda. Forget it, I won't give it to Wanda. If she finds out, she will tear herself apart. What is this? Soon, Marfa found a ring she had never seen before in the pile of shit. Teleportation ring, durability. 1/7, required level. 12, Marfa. Damn it. Golden legend. If you ask the leader of Woma what is the most valuable thing, there is no doubt that the teleportation ring definitely occupies a place. When I played Legend in the past, as long as I wore this thing and typed the coordinates in the input bar, I would be teleported to the specified location immediately. Of course, if you open the large map and right-click the location you need to go, you can also be teleported to the corresponding location immediately. Artifact. I will never have to endure the pain of rushing on the road again. Thinking like this, Marfa soon reacted. This is a highly restored real world of the game, without an input bar. How to use this ring? With a head full of doubts, Marfa temporarily suppressed his curiosity and immediately continued to pick up shit. Blessing oil? Save it and talk about it when you have a better weapon in the future. What is this? Marfa soon touched something again. Chapter 105. This game is not easy. Soul bracelet, top grade, durability. 4/11, defense. 0-1, +1, magic defense. 0 and 2, +2, attack. 0 and 2, +2, Taoism. 1-3, +1, Taoism required. 24. Looking at the sticky bracelet in his hand, Marfa was really speechless. Wouldn't it be better if you added the 0-2 magic defense and 0-1 defense to the Taoism? Signed secretly, after confirming that the Woma cult master had no other useful drops, Marfa directly tore open the return scroll and returned to Beaky City. Now he urgently needs to jump into the moat of Beaky City and take a bath. As for whether the moat will cause algae to overflow after taking a bath because of too many nutrients, this is not something Marfa can control. Marfa did not hesitate to use up more than 10 minutes of precious points to wash off the smell on his body, and then threw his clothes directly into the moat. Fabric absorbs odors so much that it can't be washed clean. Anyway, I'm already level 22, so I can change into new clothes. Marfa decided to be a tycoon for once. Soul Battlesuit, men's, durability. 20/20, defense. 3-6, magic defense. 3-3, Taoism. 0 and 2, required level. 22. This is the highest level of clothing that can be bought in the store in the Legend game. Anything higher can only be obtained by monster drops. After putting on new clothes and the soul bracelet that had been washed dozens of times, Marfa immediately checked his attribute panel. Character, Marfa, occupation, Taoist, level. 22, defense. 4-8, magic defense. 6-11, attack. 8-20, magic. 0 and 4, Taoist magic. 5-25, physical value, blood. 150/150, magic value, blue. 146/146, skills, healing level 3, psychic combat method max, spider sense, cannot be upgraded in level, poisoning max, soul fire talisman level 2, summon skeleton level 1, invisibility level 1, big liar, cannot be upgraded in level, group invisibility level 1, ghost shield level 1, equipment, demon subduing, top quality, soul battlesuit, men's, mind bracelet, top quality, Taoist bracelet, top quality, platinum ring 1, glass ring 1, top quality, phoenix pearl, top quality, magic helmet, special ring, teleportation ring, not equipped. Nowadays, Marfa's equipment is quite luxurious. Except for the ring, clothes and helmet, they are more or less top grade. If it were in the game of the previous life, it would certainly attract countless people to cast envious eyes. But unfortunately, this joy can only be enjoyed by Marfa alone. Looking at the gold coins in the backpack, which has reached 1.15 million, Marfa immediately ran around the major shops and repaired the durability of the equipment. P.S. In the Legend, Repairing equipment is divided into ordinary repair and special repair. The price of special repair will be much more expensive, but it will hardly change the equipment attributes. The number of ordinary repairs will reduce the upper limit of equipment durability. Then Marfa came to the warehouse keeper in Bicky City. After spending 2,000 gold coins in handling fees, Marfa successfully exchanged 1 million gold coins for gold bars. There is no doubt that Marfa is going to complete the strange task before. When Marfa brought the gold bars to the grocery store owner in Bicky City again, the other party still had the same dull look as before. "Hey, boss? Hey." After shouting for a long time, the grocery store owner had no intention of talking. He just mechanically opened the transaction column and displayed the goods he wanted to sell. Could it be that he was cheated? Was the so-called task before a scam? Marfa frowned slightly and thought a little unhappy. "Boss, do you still want the gold bars? If not, I'll leave." Marfa struggled to say the last sentence. When Marfa mentioned the gold bars, the grocery store owner's eyes suddenly became smart. "Hey, boy, you are here again. Look at me. Why did you lose focus just now? What's the matter? Did you bring the gold bars?" The boss rubbed his hands and asked excitedly. "Weird, this is really too weird." Marfa didn't believe that the other party really ignored him because he was distracted just now. As the saying goes, eyes are the windows to the soul. The changes before and after the grocery store owner in front of him are really too big, and Marfa couldn't help but suspect that there is something fishy. Where are the goods? Let me see them first. Although the grocery store owner in front of him was very problematic, after all, what he wanted was in his hands, and Marfa could not be picky. "Ha ha ha. I knew you could do it, young man. It's just a gold bar. For someone born rich like you, the only thing you need to do is to pick up the change." The grocery store owner's smile became even brighter, just like a real person. As he said that, he took out the small black square box that Marfa had seen before from his pocket. "Amulet printer special props, cannot be equipped, unlimited number of uses, cooling time 30 minutes, amulet dedicated storage space. 10,000 grids, required level 1. After checking the properties of the small square box again, Marfa couldn't help but smile slightly. Good stuff, this is it. Immediately, Marfa no longer hesitated and immediately took out the gold bars he had just exchanged from his backpack. One hand handed over the money and the other hand handed over the goods. Everything went smoothly. Marfa almost couldn't believe it. Did he really cheat himself? Looking at the small box in his hand, Marfa couldn't help but feel secretly happy. He immediately chose to use the small square box. However, after waiting for a while, there was no movement. "Boss, why can't your box be used? It's not a parallel import." Marfa asked with a cold face. "How can you print without paper? Look at you, a good boy, how can you be so stupid?" The grocery store owner put the gold bar into his pocket with a smile, and immediately became dull again after leaving such a sentence. Oh, it seems that this guy is offline again. But after thinking about it, what the other party said seems to make sense. How can you print without paper? After all, this is an amulet printer. Since it is called printing, it is natural to put paper. Thinking of this, Marfa was relieved. Go back to the real world and see if you can use waterproof craft paper as a carrier. After all, waterproofing is very important to Marfa. After saying goodbye to the weird grocery store owner, Marfa immediately took out the teleportation ring that had just been repaired and replaced the glass ring. In an instant, a sense of emptiness immediately swept through Marfa's mind. Gradually, the map of Marfa continent slowly emerged in Marfa's mind. Wow, so magical. It's worthy of being a special ring. At this moment, Marfa felt as if he was in a higher latitude, and the secret of space was completely revealed in his eyes. That's it. Marfa's eyes flashed, and then he drew a line in the air with one hand, and a dimensional channel appeared in front of him. Stepping inside, when Marfa looked around again, he had arrived at the border between Bicky Province and Woma Forest. Haha, it seems that he has mastered the space gate ability of camouflage in disguise. Marfa said happily. Brother Archer Guard, I brought you the Woma horn you wanted, do you want to take a look? With previous experience, Marfa naturally got straight to the point and immediately took out the Woma horn. How, adventurer, I didn't expect you to really do it. Marfa's mouth twitched slightly. Did you think I would die in the Woma temple? Are you kidding? I am a man with a Vulcan cannon, okay? Quick, let me take a good look at the legendary Woma horn. My wife's younger brother's second cousin's father-in-law's nephew is obsessed with this thing. The archer guard was a little impatient and wanted to snatch the Woma horn from Marfa's hand. Unexpectedly, Marfa took it back, but instead spread his hands and smiled at the archer guard. The meaning is very clear, one hand for money and the other for goods. Oh, look at me, I am so abrupt. As soon as the voice fell, the archer guard immediately reached into his trouser pocket and took it out. Marfa, didn't you say that the Taoist version of the temptation light is a treasure? What do you mean by hiding it in your trouser pocket? Don't you feel uncomfortable? Or is your storage backpack in your trouser pocket like the grocery store owner? Marfa was shocked. His eyes towards the archer guard also changed. Hey, wait, the grocery store owner? Marfa looked at the archer guard carefully. His movements and expressions were exactly the same as the grocery store owner. Something was wrong, too wrong. Why did they behave in the same way when they were obviously two different NPCs? Why did they only recover their emotions under certain special conditions? Thinking of this, Marfa immediately planned to test one or two. Boss, are the gold bars enough? How about I get you another one? Golden teeth. The archer guard narrowed his eyes and showed a happy smile. Immediately, he seemed to realize something. I'm really surprised, adventurer, you can actually defeat the powerful Woma cult master. Haha, you're making a pun for me, right? At this moment, Marfa was certain that the archer guard and the grocery store owner were definitely the same person, or the same consciousness was controlling them. But judging from the other party's answer, he obviously didn't want to admit it. In this case, Marfa did not hesitate. There was still a long time to come. Marfa wanted to see what tricks this unknown existence was up to. Soon, the transaction was completed, and Marfa successfully got the skilled book he had longed for. Light of Temptation, Taoist Secret Book, a technique to invade the target's sea of consciousness through mental power. After defeating the target's mental will, it can leave a mental imprint to enslave the target and make it a loyal servant of the caster. Required level 13. After reading the detailed introduction of Light of Temptation, Marfa could not help but frown. This is obviously very different from the magician version that Marfa knew. First of all, the magician version is to hit the target with strong lightning, causing it to fall into a short-term paralysis or confusion state. The paralysis state can have the effect of immobilizing the target, while the confusion state can make the target attack regardless of friend or foe. If the lightning directly destroys the target's brain, the target's body can be controlled to become one's own servant. Or the target will die directly. The Taoist version requires one to inject one's own mental power into the target's body, defeat the target's mental will, leave a mental imprint, and thus enslave the target. In other words, if one cannot defeat the opponent's mental will, then one cannot enslave the target. And because the Taoist version of the Light of Temptation has a different casting principle, it does not have the effect of fixing and confusing the target like the magician version. It seems that this world is really not just as simple as a game. Marfa pondered for a moment. If the Light of Temptation skill is really just forced to become a Taoist skill, then it can only mean that this is really just an alternative game. But whether it is the Light of Temptation, or the amulet printer, or even the teleportation ring, they are all in-depth excavations and extensions of professional characteristics or physical theories under certain rules. This is very intriguing. Chapter 106, Special Mission reappears. After exiting the legendary world, Marfa checked the remaining game time, 4,360 minutes. In other words, including the time for taking a shower, completing tasks, and organizing equipment, it only took him 4 hours? 4 hours to level up 1.5 levels? This is like flying on an airplane. If there was number M134 rapid-fire machine gun, and Marfa had to rely on himself, I'm afraid this time would have to be multiplied by at least 3. Although Marfa is having a great time shooting on the 3rd floor of Woma, all the shots he shoots are money. Tony's special armor-piercing bullets, if he shoots 4,000 bullets per minute, will cost about $100,000 per hour. This is not counting the profit from ammunition and the maintenance cost of firearms. With Marfa's current assets, it is obviously not enough to support him to play like this for a long time. It must be said that it is good to have money. Money can make the devil push the mill, and money can fix bugs. Looking at the big villa under his feet, Marfa was a little envious for a while. Ahem, it's late at night, why don't you sleep? Is the sea breeze so charming? Tony's voice came from behind, and then a bottle of Wang Laoji was thrown by Tony. The telekinetic tentacles stretched out, and Wang Laoji slowly fell into Marfa's hands. Hey, where did this thing come from? I didn't expect you to like it. Looking at the red can of herbal tea in his hand, Marfa said with some joy. Pepper said that I was getting angry recently, so she asked her friend in China to buy it for me. I still have a few boxes, you can drink it at will. Tony said nonchalantly. Good guy, is it okay for a billionaire to treat himself to Wang Laoji? Marfa's mouth twitched, and he immediately took out a golden bottle from his backpack and threw it to Tony. Try it, it's the tonic. It's good for your body's foundation. Tony took the potion handed over by Marfa and looked at it. But he saw that the liquid in the bottle was golden and even flashed with a little fluorescence. At first glance, it looked as bright as the Milky Way. What is this? Look, it's glowing. It's not radioactive, is it? Tony shook the bottle in his hand and said, eat it if you want. Seeing that Tony actually doubted his good intentions, Marfa immediately curled her lips in disdain. Okay, I'll take it as your return. After that, Tony unscrewed the bottle cap and drank the liquid in the bottle. In an instant, Tony felt a warm current flowing from his mouth to his throat, followed by his esophagus and stomach. Gradually, Tony felt as if he was in a hot spring, and every pore in his body was breathing greedily. And the palladium element remaining in Tony's body was completely cleared out of his body at this moment. This is amazing. Feeling the changes in his body, Tony suddenly widened his eyes and looked at Marfa with hope. No more. Marfa knew what Tony wanted to say, and immediately spoke first. Tisk, you are so petty. Tony looked at the empty bottle in his hand and was reluctant to part with it. So, he didn't care about his image and immediately put his tongue into the bottle, trying to lick every drop of liquid as much as possible. Seeing Tony struggling with the strong solar water bottle, Marfa couldn't help but draw a strange arc at the corner of his mouth. Yes, this is the bottle that was fished out of the Woma leader's shit. Lick it, Tony, you didn't expect that you would have this day. Marfa thought darkly in his heart. Marfa, to be honest, are you really gone? How about we cooperate? I pay the money and you provide the formula? I believe this thing will be sold all over the world. Tony said seriously. Is it really so delicious? Marfa said with a smile on his face. It's not delicious, it's just warm and comfortable to drink, but the taste seems to be a little wrong, it's a little bitter and astringent. Puff. Marfa finally couldn't help laughing. It turns out that the shit of the Woma cult leader is bitter and astringent. I've learned something new. Tell me, what do you want from me? I don't believe you came here in the middle of the night just to give me a bottle of Wang Laoji. Marfa opened the bottle cap, took a few sips and asked, when do we set off? Tony didn't bother about the golden potion that tasted a bit strange at this time, and immediately came forward to ask, set off? Where to? Marfa asked in confusion. No, Maximoff, you can't be dishonest. You have taken my guns and ammunition. You have to take me to find that bald woman. Tony immediately said with a frown. Ling. Congratulations to the host for triggering the special mission, take someone else's path and leave them with no way to go. Mission objective, help Tony Stark become a disciple of the Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One. Mission reward, unknown. Mission description, Iron Man is going to learn magic, what should Doctor Strange do? The good guy is here again. Listening to the system prompts beside him, Marfa couldn't help but fall into stagnation. So far, the system has issued 2 special tasks. The first one was to help Toby become Spider-Man, but the second one was to help Tony become Doctor Strange? This system is really going to mess up the MCU plot. But thinking of this, Marfa immediately accepted the task. If Tony Stark gave up the Iron Man armor to learn magic, the plot would definitely change a lot. Maybe he would just give himself a monthly card. Thinking of this, Marfa nodded immediately. Tony, I understand. Let me tell you. The person you are talking about is the Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One. She is the leader of the Kamar-Taj lineage, and the mission of Kamar-Taj is to maintain the balance of the multiverse and protect the entire world. This does not include humans. Do you understand? Or to put it another way, in the eyes of Ancient One, there is actually no essential difference between you and a raccoon or a tree. You are all just part of the world. And what she has to protect is a larger unit. A larger unit. Marfa's words really shocked Tony. Is this what Buddhism says about the equality of all beings? Because we have to protect a larger unit, the life and death of a small unit is not important? Thinking of this, Tony couldn't help but frown. At first, Tony was influenced by Howard's thoughts and believed that the best weapon only needed to be used once. This is the peace in his eyes. After experiencing the suffering in the cave, Tony was influenced by Dr. Ethan and felt that every life is precious and worth cherishing and taking seriously. This idea has continued to this day. However, if we follow what Marfa said, wouldn't it be that in the eyes of Ancient One, there is no difference between life and grass? If there are no humans on Earth, what is the point of protecting such a planet? Tony was confused for a while. So do you know? Why am I not willing to take you to find the Ancient One now? Because you haven't figured out what you want to do and what kind of person you want to be, and you don't have the determination to sacrifice everything to pursue your goals. Even if you find the Ancient One, what can you do? The ideas are not in line with each other. Do you think she will teach you? You must know that the Supreme Sorcerer is not like Stephen Strange, who can be moved by money. Marfa's words are actually deliberately provoking Tony. In the original plot, when Stephen became a disciple, did he protect the multiverse and ignore the individual view? Obviously not, but he still entered Kamar-Taj and even became the descendant of the Ancient One. From this point, it is not difficult to see that Kamar-Taj is tolerant of personal ideas. If Tony really becomes the Supreme Sorcerer, as long as the multiverse is not out of balance, he can do whatever he wants, whether he wants to rule the Earth or protect mankind. These are not important to Kamar-Taj. But since the Ancient One was willing to show up in front of Tony in advance and even deliberately lured Tony into Kamar-Taj, it shows that the Ancient One is very optimistic about Tony. Marfa doesn't want Tony to forget that he is Iron Man because of practicing magic in the future. If there is no man who snaps his fingers and shouts "I am Iron Man," the Marvel Universe will be without a soul. Chapter 107 Venom is missing. Cambridge, Massachusetts. Samuel Stern looked at the glass test tube in front of him with excitement. He succeeded. After months of research day and night, he finally tamed the Hulk serum by accident. Samuel originally just wanted to change his taste that day, so he ordered a $6 spicy hot pot. Unexpectedly, he accidentally splashed the soup into the culture dish where the Hulk serum was being cultured. So, a miracle was born. The Hulk serum turned from a colorless and transparent solution to green in an instant. Just as Samuel cited his carelessness, the contaminated serum slowly turned back to its original colorless and transparent solution. Out of curiosity, Samuel immediately started to study the serum. Unexpectedly, the Hulk factor in the serum was completely suppressed. Not only did it lose its previous violence and aggressiveness, but it also retained the activity of the serum to a large extent. This discovery undoubtedly aroused Samuel's interest, and he immediately used mice for biological live tests. As expected, after the injection of the serum, the physical fitness of the mice was immediately strengthened by more than 10 times. And there was no longer the violent and irritable performance in the past. Immediately, Samuel did not care about anything else. After dealing with the mice, he immediately started to study the ingredients of the spicy hot pot. However, until all the remaining soup of the spicy hot pot was used up, Samuel did not get a decent result. Because the ingredients of this spicy hot pot are too complicated, almost covering most of the periodic table. Samuel would never have thought that a simple spicy hot pot would have so many additives. So, the unyielding Samuel immediately ordered dozens of the same dishes. Failure. Come again. Failure. Until the warehouse full of Hulk serum was completely consumed, Samuel could only show off the original accidental product. This is very uncomfortable. Looking at the room full of spicy hot pot, Samuel felt that his life was dark at this time. The serum is gone. Now if you still want to get the Hulk serum sample, there are only two ways. One is to go directly to Marfa. After all, Marfa had a lot of serum of each concentration. The other is to go directly to Hulk. For this, Samuel thought for a long time. In the end, he made a bold decision. Betray Marfa. This is the Hulk serum that can be controlled artificially. With it, let alone the Nobel Prize, it is easy to take all the biological awards in the world. If it is sold to the military, there is no doubt that Samuel will get hundreds or even tens of thousands of times the benefits given by Marfa. As the saying goes, the timid will starve to death, and the bold will die of gluttony. Under the temptation of huge interests, there is no doubt that Samuel was moved. But the question that follows is, where did Banner go? Since Bruce Banner left Brazil and was taken to the United States by Betty and Obadiah, Mr. Green and Mr. Blue have a completely cut off contact. At this time, How could Samuel know where Bruce Banner was going? If he wants to get help from the military, then there is no doubt that Samuel must first show his value. After thinking for a while, Samuel finally decided to inject this lucky serum himself first, and then go to negotiate with the military. Samuel did not think that the military might catch it as a guinea pig and draw blood for research. But as a doctor of biology, he knew that the serum in his hand, which was originally only 20% concentrated, would be further diluted after being injected into his body. If he was used for research, the effect of the second-hand serum would only be worse. This is obviously not in the interests of the military. What's more, for now, Samuel is the only one in the world who knows how this lucky serum in his hand was formed. As long as he keeps his mouth shut, I think the military will be happy to make this deal with him. California, Life Fund Group. Boss, Flash Thompson, he is missing. A security guard hung his head and said in a panic. Missing. Carlton Drake frowned slightly, and an inexplicable feeling of unease enveloped his heart at this moment. Flash is Gamora's baby. These days, Gamora has been guarding Flash all the time. How could he disappear? Have you found out the reason? Carlton asked with a sullen face. If it were before, Carlton would not care whether Flash was dead or alive. He just wanted Gamora's money. If he disappeared, he would just clone him again. But according to Dora's report, the current clone of Flash and symbiote number 3 have a very high degree of compatibility. In this way, even Carlton had to pay attention to Flash. Yes. The security guard was timid and dared not speak. Coincidentally, what Carlton hated most was his hesitant look. Dora's Gus was fine, after all, she was a high-end technical talent and could not be hurt, but the security guards, that didn't matter. Thinking of this, Carlton immediately pulled out a pistol from his waist and pointed it at the security guard's brow. Explain it to me clearly, or I'll kill you. Carlton's eyes flashed with a hint of impatience and he said, I'm very sorry. It was my negligence. I was originally responsible for taking care of symbiote number 3, but because Dr. Scuss was out, there was no one in the sample laboratory of symbiote number 3. I was curious and wanted to take a closer look. But I didn't expect that symbiote number 3 actually hid in my blind spot. I thought number 3 was gone, so I immediately opened the door of the laboratory. So it slipped away. I found that something was wrong, and immediately checked all the surveillance at that time. Finally, I found that number 3 had merged into Flash Thompson's body, so I immediately went to capture it. Unexpectedly, when I and other security personnel arrived, they had already disappeared. The security guard explained the whole thing in detail. As he spoke, he was sweating profusely, fearing that Carlton would directly fire him because of the disappearance of symbiote number 3. After all, the welfare benefits of the Life Fund are quite good, and he doesn't want to lose this job. Bang! However, as soon as he finished speaking, a burst of gunfire rang out in the office. A thumb-sized hole immediately appeared between the eyebrows of the security guard. With a look of disbelief on his face, the security guard's body fell to the ground. Waste, you actually lost the symbiote. It's a bargain for you to have your life. The disappearance of the symbiote is a huge loss for the entire Life Fund. Originally, there were 4 samples, one of which was missing because the tank broke when it fell, and now another one is missing because of the negligence of the security guard. This is a huge blow to Carlton. Immediately, Carlton took out his mobile phone from his pocket and called Obadiah. Obadiah, Gamora's son disappeared with an experimental subject. This time, I have to trouble you to bring him back. Carlton said in a deep voice. Okay, you've helped me so much, so this is my reward. But you have to get me 2 bottles of good wine later. On the other end of the phone, Obadiah was debugging the mechanical parts on his body with the help of the technicians. Now, Gamora and Carlton are like grasshoppers on a rope, rising and falling together. If he wants to make a comeback in the future, he can't do without the help of the two. So after hearing about the accident of the Life Fund, he agreed without saying a word. At the same time, Arizona. A 2-meter-tall black figure was speeding across the wilderness. Boy, are you sure we are not going in the wrong direction? I'm a little tired. Well, there is always a voice in my heart telling me that I have to go there. Only by going there can I find the answer I want. The Black Shadow said to himself. How far is it? I'm hungry and want to eat meat. About 3,000 kilometers. The Black Shadow said uncertainly. Bastard. I'm done. I'm running this far, you want to tire me to death. Suddenly, the tall figure suddenly braked and stopped, roaring with an unhappy face. Please, please. I really want to know what is that thing that has been attracting me. Brother Venom, please help me. The black figure kept talking to himself in the same place. Fortunately, no one saw it, otherwise even if they were not scared by the terrifying appearance of the black figure, they would think that the monster in front of them was mentally ill. Chapter 108 Visiting the Life Fund. On this day, the New York Times, the Daily Bugle, the Globe and other media outlets were all blown up. Because the legendary rookie king with the financial miracle Marfa Maximov finally showed up. According to internal information from the Life Fund Group, the vice president of Stark Industries, Marfa Maximov will visit the Life Fund in the near future to discuss the future development direction of American companies. A stone stirs up 1,000 waves. Countless media reporters, like sharks smelling blood, squatted at the door of the Life Fund day and night, trying to catch a glimpse of Mr. Maximov. Among these reporters, there is a reporter from the Los Angeles Times, Eddie Brock. As one of the most popular investigative reporters at the moment, Eddie Brock once worked for the Globe in New York. However, because he was outspoken and impulsive, he offended the financial tycoons in New York. In the end, he was forced to hide in California where his girlfriend was. Fortunately, Eddie is a man who dares to fight and speak, and he can often dig out shocking revelations. Therefore, even though he came to an unfamiliar working environment, he quickly became the ace reporter of the Los Angeles Times. Hey, Eddie, do you think we can really take pictures of Mr. Maximov this time? A reporter in the same profession said. You ask me, who should I ask? This is a task assigned by the boss. Do you think I want to come? Compared to taking pictures of Maximov, I would rather go directly to the Life Foundation to take pictures of their evidence of guilt. Eddie said impatiently. Evidence of guilt. Reporter A looked puzzled. According to reliable intelligence, the Life Foundation has been conducting human experiments recently, and many homeless people have been captured by them and forced to participate in the experiments. Eddie lowered his voice and whispered in the ear of reporter A. What? Human body. SHH. Before reporter A finished speaking, Eddie immediately covered his mouth, made a silent gesture, and then nodded to the other newspaper reporters around him. Now that you've said that, I want to go in and take some photos, too. I think I'm indebted to you this time. As long as we get the photos, we'll be a big hit. Reporter A said excitedly. In the top floor office of Life Fund, through the huge French windows, Carlton Drake looked down at the noisy reporters who were stopped at the gate and couldn't help but smile. It must be said that Doris Gus's decision to invite Marfa to Life Fund was really a good one. What is the most lacking in Life Fund at present? Money and time. And Stark Industries is now in its heyday under Marfa's operation. P.S. Don't ask me whose Hongshin is, I don't know either. This is like inviting Buffett to lunch. Buffett doesn't need to say anything, but afterwards, no matter what stocks the host buys, a large group of people will blindly follow suit. This is the effect Carlton wants. As long as Marfa comes to Life Fund as a guest, and Carlton quietly leaks the matter to the media, it can be predicted that the share price of Life Fund will inevitably soar with the halo of Marfa. And Carlton Drake no longer has to worry about funding issues. Boss, Mr. Maximov will be here in 30 minutes. Do you want to bring him to see you? A female secretary wearing a white translucent shirt with only 2 buttons fastened came in and said. After taking a look at the white patch, Carlton hesitated for a moment. No, I will go to the door to greet him in person. Go and arrange the bigger the better, as soon as possible. By the way, remember to call Dr. Scuss, she invited a person, and she should accompany him. Upon hearing this, the female secretary immediately trotted out of Carlton's office. Just as she ran, the little white rabbit, white and white, with 2 ears erect, loves to eat radishes and grass, and is so cute when jumping around. Ahem, I'm getting off topic. Soon Marfa's car arrived at the gate of Life Fund. The scene was filled with gongs and drums, firecrackers, colorful flags, and huge crowds of people. To be able to create such a scene in just half an hour was enough to show that Carlton's methods were extraordinary. Marfa, look at this posture. The specifications are comparable to those of national leaders. You kid, you're good. In the car, Toby flattered him at the right time. Have you ever heard that if you are too attentive to others for no reason, you are either a traitor or a thief? The Life Fund is not as simple as you think. On the way here, Marfa finally recalled the plot of the movie Venom after reading the relevant information sent by Nick Fury. Isn't the villain in the movie Carlton Drake of the Life Fund? Because Marfa's focus was on the MCU plot before, she subconsciously ignored this Sony movie. In particular, the information also mentioned that Life One fell in Malaysia not long ago. This undoubtedly aroused Marfa's interest. Looking at Toby beside him and thinking of Venom, Marfa was quite looking forward to it for a while. What kind of tricks will this pair of nemesis from the comics come up with this time? At this moment, Marfa seemed to have seen countless point cards with wings flying towards him. Finally, the car stopped. Beep beep, beep beep. The trombone sounded, and fireworks filled the sky. Ha ha ha. Welcome Mr. Maximov from afar. Carlton Drake, his secretary and Gus came up on the red carpet, and his enthusiasm was even more exaggerated than meeting his biological father. Mr. Drake is here to greet you personally. Marfa immediately stepped forward, nodded to the three people one by one, and then shook hands with Carlton tightly as a courtesy. This was originally just a private exchange visit, but Carlton did this and it turned into a high-level meeting between Stark Industries and Life Fund Group. As a representative of Stark Industries, Marfa naturally couldn't lose Tony's face. For a while, flashes of light and shutter sounds came one after another. However, at this moment, a reporter suddenly pushed the security guard aside and rushed to Marfa and Carlton. I'm sorry, Mr. Maximov, Mr. Drake. I'm Eddie Brock, a reporter from the Los Angeles Daily News. Can you give me 3 minutes to interview you briefly? Drake frowned when he saw someone rushing up, but then he seemed to think of something, and immediately suppressed his anger and showed a bright smile. If Mr. Maximov doesn't mind. Drake kicked the ball directly to Marfa. Eddie Brock? Isn't this the male protagonist in Venom? At this time, Eddie is at the peak of his career and love, and he doesn't look decadent and helpless as shown in the movie. It's interesting. Marfa raised his mouth slightly and nodded in agreement. Eddie was overjoyed when he heard this, and immediately waved to reporter A in the crowd, asking him to come over and take pictures. Mr. Maximov, as the new king of the entire financial industry, what do you think of Life Fund, a company that has been in a slump in the stock market? Eddie is worthy of his sharp words, which made Carlton's anger, which had just been suppressed, surge up again. Life Fund, as far as I know, it is a company with great potential. Look, I'm here, aren't I? Since he was going to show off, Marfa naturally had to do something, and immediately praised Carlton. As long as he got along well with him on the surface, there would be no worry about not having the opportunity to contact the symbiote. Eddie was not to be outdone. I heard that Life Fund has been conducting human experiments privately recently, and many people have died. What do you think about this? Is Stark Industries also involved? What is your opinion on the fact that human experiments have caused death? Well, this made Carlton Drake on the side really unable to sit still. If there were not so many people around, Carlton really wanted to strangle the ignorant reporter in front of him. Dr. Scus, please answer this reporter's question for me. Mr. Maximov is a distinguished guest. If he stays here for so long, people will say that we at the Life Foundation don't know etiquette. After saying that, Carlton led Marfa into the Life Foundation building. He apologized repeatedly along the way, claiming that he had made poor arrangements. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Riot. What an interesting soul. Marfa thought to herself. The combination of Eddie and Venom is the most special pair in Marvel movies and TV shows. Usually, in order to pass the review and for the box office, movies and TV shows will adjust the characters and make a clear distinction between good and evil. Good people should be upright and full of positive energy, while bad people should be ambitious and think about all sorts of things all day long. But Eddie is not like that. He was at his peak when he appeared, but as the plot progressed, he eventually became a complete loser. Not only did his girlfriend run away with someone else, he also lost his job, and his life was a mess. As for Venom, as the weakest of the symbiotes, he was often bullied by his peers, and even after seeing the riots, who were also symbiotes, he instinctively developed a strong sense of fear. This is exactly the same as Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man seeing Flash Thompson. It can be said that he is extremely cowardly. However, such a coward and a loser actually produced a wonderful chemical reaction, giving birth to a gray superhero who is both good and evil. Unlike other glamorous superheroes, Venom eats people, kills people, and is ruthless and unethical. But as long as he thinks it is right, he will do it at all costs. Venom never asks anyone to be responsible, as long as he has a clear conscience. Because of this, Marfa has a good impression of this role. It's a pity that such an interesting soul may not get his chance this time. Marfa sighed in his heart. On the side, Carlton Drake, as the host, quickly came out of Eddie's haze. For him, Marfa is the god of wealth, and naturally he cannot be neglected. Under the leadership of Carlton, Marfa roughly visited the Life Fund group. During the period, Carlton focused on introducing Marfa to the current key research project of the Life Fund gene-targeted therapy. In short, it is to optimize human genes by injecting specific gene fluids, so that they can produce antibodies to some cancer cells and diseased genes, so as to achieve the effect of evolving human genes and activating the body's disease resistance potential. Of course, Marfa knew that this was just on the surface. Carlton would not expose his core research project to Marfa right away. Mr. Maximov, this is basically what our company is like. Humans are too weak after all. I have seen many separations and deaths since I was a child, and many poor people who are on the verge of death. In my opinion, humans must evolve. Only by evolving to a higher level of life can we have a larger living space. I highly agree that Mr. Stark can give up the weapons industry and choose the clean energy industry. Humans are destroying the earth too much. If there are more entrepreneurs like Mr. Stark in the world, the future of mankind will not be like this. Carlton said half-truthfully. I sincerely hope that Mr. Maximov can promote a long-term cooperation between our Life Fund and Stark Industries, and contribute a little to the future of the earth and mankind. At the end, Carlton added another sentence. The implication is obvious, aren't you against war? Me too. Aren't you engaged in clean energy and protecting mankind? Me too. Now I'm short of money, you can't just watch me, such an ambitious young man, end up in a dead end. Having lived two lives, Marfa naturally understood Carlton's subtext. Mr. Drake, I will convey your meaning to Tony. I believe that as long as your company does not forget its original intention and does good things, Tony will certainly be happy to make friends with you. Marfa is obviously a smart person, and the implication is, first of all, it depends on whether you really do what you say. Secondly, Tony is the boss, I am only responsible for the middle coordination, and Tony has to make the final decision. Speaking of this, Carlton naturally understood that it is useless to say more. In short, whether Tony is willing to inject capital into the Life Fund is insignificant. Just Marfa's visit to the Life Fund, plus his previous publicity, is enough to boost the Life Fund's stock price. This is enough for the Life Fund to survive this difficult time. When the laboratory comes up with the research results of the symbiote, will the Life Fund still need to cling to Stark Industries? That night, after arranging a hotel for Marfa to stay, Carlton also returned to his home. He was exhausted from smiling all day, not only physically, but also mentally. Fortunately, everything was finally over. In the next few days, Carlton only had to attend a seminar and the final farewell ceremony. As for the rest, he would leave it to Dora. After all, she invited him, so it was reasonable for her to accompany him in person. However, when Carlton opened the door of his house, he found that someone was already in the house. He looked carefully. Wasn't it the secretary from before? Why did she suddenly come to him in the middle of the night? Could it be that she was hungry again? Didn't she just feed him last night? Carlton was suspicious in his heart. What a life of an old ox. Wouldn't it be tiring to plow the land every day? Just as Carlton was thinking, the secretary walked towards him step by step. The whiteness of her chest shook Carlton for a while. Soon, the female secretary came to Carlton, stretched out her hands and pressed on his chest. Question mark? Is this the opposite operation? Carlton was confused, but then, countless silver-black mucus emerged from the female secretary. Oh no. Carlton felt bad and wanted to run away, but was grabbed by the female secretary, which hurt Carlton's two little red beans. At this moment, the silver-black mucus on the female secretary's body also rushed towards Carlton frantically. The process was very fast, and it only lasted for less than a few breaths. The female secretary fell to the ground, but Carlton showed an evil smile. Humph, damn guy, you actually made me run half a planet. Carlton said in a deep voice. Who are you? Carlton suddenly shook his head violently and said with a struggling face. I am your master Riot, you can call me king. Carlton continued with a tense expression. In the constant struggle, Carlton finally gave in. Although he was parasitized by the symbiote, the two discussed that at this stage, Carlton himself controlled his body most of the time. And what he had to do was. On the other side, at the Life Fund building. Eddie was now wearing the uniform of a security guard and quietly came to the sewer outlet of the Life Fund with reporter A. Eddie, do we really want to do this? You know, this is an illegal invasion. If you are caught, you will go to jail. And even if we go in, we can't take pictures of their secrets without the access card. Reporter A said hesitantly. Stupid, you can't get the tiger cub without risking it. Is it the access card? Look at what this is. Eddie took out an identification card with Doris Gus's photo from his pocket. This is what I took from that female doctor during the day. Don't say anything, follow me, I guarantee you will be successful. After that, Eddie took the lead in getting into the sewer pipe. Chapter 110 Night Visit to Life Fund. Is this the Life Fund? Reporter A, who came to the Life Fund along the drainage pipe, was immediately stunned by the scene in front of him. Super servers, unnamed precision equipment, mice locked in cages waiting for experiments, and various living culture tanks, even human organs. Looking at those organs soaked in green unknown liquid, Reporter A couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Really? They are really doing human experiments. Reporter A murmured secretly. Pa. Just at this time, Eddie slapped Reporter A on the head. Before the next mission, do your homework first, okay? These are just cloned organs cultivated by the Life Fund. The official website of the Life Fund has their cultivation process. You know, customizing replacement organs for those rich people is one of the main projects of the Life Fund. Seeing Reporter A sighing over a trivial matter, Eddie couldn't help but despise him. That's it? Want to be an ace reporter? At this time, Reporter A was no different from a mentally retarded person in Eddie's eyes. Little did they know that in the monitoring room of the Life Fund, Marfa, who was in stealth mode, also looked at Eddie with an expression that looked like he was mentally retarded. Are these two pigs? How can there be security personnel who look around like curious babies like them? Any 10 people can guess that there is something wrong with these two people. Just an hour ago, Marfa was originally going to use the ability of invisibility to sneak into the Life Fund quietly, looking for evidence that the Life Fund used wanderers for live experiments, in order to complete the task of S.H.I.E.L.D. But by chance, he ran into the sneaky Eddie and Reporter A near the Life Fund building. Seeing the two stupid thieves also wanting to sneak into the Life Fund, Marfa's eyes suddenly lit up. Is there anyone better than them to take the blame? Carlton Drake is not a fool. As long as Marfa takes action, he will definitely find something afterwards. At that time, if Stark Industries is accused of stealing trade secrets, it will be very troublesome. And if these two stupid thieves take the blame, that would be another matter. Therefore, Marfa immediately used invisibility and telekinesis to enter the monitoring room of the Life Fund and knocked out all the staff on duty. Then, while avoiding all cameras, he quietly knocked out all the patrolling security personnel and locked them in the toilet. Otherwise, how could Eddie and Reporter A, two stupid thieves, want to sneak into the tightly guarded Life Fund? Now, Marfa has arranged everything. Later, as long as they use their hands, all the evidence of the Life Fund's crimes will be made public. And Marfa's mission was completed naturally. It is no exaggeration to say that the appearance of Eddie and Reporter A is simply a blessing for Marfa, which makes everything too simple, so simple that Marfa can't believe it. Since the mission is completed, then it's time to do some private work next. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. According to the original plot of Venom, the Life Fund brought back a total of 4 symbiotes, and if nothing unexpected happened, the silver symbiote, Riot, should have been lost when the spacecraft crashed. Maybe it is still possessed by an old lady or a little girl and rushing to the Life Fund. In other words, there should be 3 symbiotes in the Life Fund at this time, including the black symbiote, Venom, the yellow symbiote, and the blue symbiote. In the original plot, the yellow and blue symbiotes did not have many scenes, and they were not even known by their names. Marfa remembered that some Marvel fans had guessed that they were Hal and Chaos. Of course, this is purely speculation and has not been officially recognized by Marvel or Sony. And what Marfa has to do is to master these 3 in her own hands. First of all, The symbiote can greatly enhance the host's comprehensive strength, including strength, speed and superpowers, and it can be said to be a panacea. And once possessed by the symbiote, it is difficult for ordinary firearms to cause damage to it. Even if it is really injured, the symbiote will quickly heal the host. Marfa has not forgotten how Pietro died in the original MCU plot. Since he has become Pietro's younger brother in this life, Marfa naturally cannot watch Pietro repeat the same mistakes. But there is always a chance, right? What if Pietro gets hit again, and I'm not there? Therefore, Marfa has long regarded the blue symbiote as Pietro's pet. As for the black symbiote, Venom, this thing is an old enemy of Peter Parker. Now that Tobey has taken the lead in becoming Spider-Man, and Tobey happens to be Marfa's own man, Marfa naturally doesn't mind promoting the eternal reunion of the two enemies. As for the yellow symbiote, Marfa definitely doesn't want it. The reason is that since seeing the dung beetle, Marfa is allergic to yellow. This shit-like color is integrated into her body, and it's disgusting to think about it. What's more, Marfa's situation is different from Pietro and Tobey. It's not a mutation at the genetic level. Therefore, whether the symbiote can fully enhance Marfa's ability remains to be considered. What if the symbiote can only enhance the host at the genetic level? Then it will be too useless for Marfa, a supernatural person who can heal and fight. Therefore, Marfa has no idea about the yellow symbiote for the time being, but there is no need to give it away for no reason, right? In short, just like the Hulk serum, no matter whether you can use it or not, it is always better to keep good things in your pocket. At the very least, it is quite good to exchange some useful things from Alexander Pierce. Finally, after more than 10 minutes of tinkering, Eddie and reporter A found the elevator to the symbiote laboratory. With the identification card from Doriscus, the two of them naturally opened the elevator door smoothly. Inside the elevator, "Eddie, don't you think we are too smooth? We didn't even encounter a security guard." Reporter A asked with some concern. "Indeed, I always feel that there is a pair of eyes watching us." Eddie also frowned and said. In the corner of the elevator, Marfa, who was in stealth mode, pursed his lips. "That's right, you are talking about me. But unfortunately, I am not watching you, but eating melons." Marfa thought secretly in his heart. As the elevator descended, the three of them soon arrived at the symbiote underground laboratory of the Life Foundation. Unlike the laboratories on the ground, in order to ensure that the research on the symbiote in the underground laboratory would not be leaked, Carlton only arranged 3 elite confidants and Obadiah to guard it. Especially since Venom had escaped before, Carlton was even more concerned. For this reason, he specially reminded the 3 people to make sure that there would be no mistakes. As for Obadiah, in the wilderness of Kansas, Obadiah was driving fast with a symbiote tracker. Because the whole United States is now looking for him, he knows the strength of S.H.I.E.L.D. very well and dare not fly so directly and blatantly. Fortunately, the escaping Venom only has 2 legs, while he has 4 wheels. In addition, Venom and Flash would get angry from time to time. Therefore, although Flash started a long time ago, the distance between the two was gradually shortening. Damn it, where's Gamora's son going? I've chased him across half of North America. In the car, Obadiah cursed and smoked a cigarette, and in his heart he had already cursed Gamora and Flush thousands of times. At this time, Flush was also in Kansas. "Brother Venom, why did you stop again? Can you cooperate a little? No matter what, I'm hungry again. I want to find something to eat. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll eat you directly." "No, brother, you said you would take me as your younger brother. How can a big brother eat a younger brother, don't you think so? We have indeed been running for a long time, and I feel hungry too. Look, isn't there a farm in front? How can we go there to get a meal?" Flush said weakly. Flush was very troubled by this uncle who was parasitic in his body, and he wanted to eat people at any time. The current Flash is not the spider monster he once was. After being cloned, he only had a general understanding of the world he currently lives in with the help of a supercomputer. Just like a newborn baby, he is pure-hearted. Therefore, he naturally cannot bear to kill his own kind. In order to persuade Venom, Flash spent a lot of time on this journey. Soon, this special pair came to the farm they had seen before, but saw a sign hanging high on the farm, and the words Morris Manor were written on the sign. P.S. This is an Easter egg. Those who have read the previous book of the lobster should know. Ha ha ha. Chapter 111 Blue Symbiote. Underground Laboratory of the Symbiote of the Life Fund. With telekinesis and invisibility, Marfa silently eliminated the 3 so-called elites. In order to pass the buck, Marfa even destroyed all the surveillance in the laboratory, which was equivalent to successfully putting the blame on Eddie and reporter A. However, just as Marfa finished his work, a scream was heard in the laboratory. Ah, what the hell is this? Soon the sound stopped. Marfa knew something was wrong and immediately rushed in the direction of the sound. Turning the corner, what caught Marfa's eyes was a man with black pupils and no whites. There was no doubt that this man was reporter A 5 minutes ago. Eddie. I didn't expect there was an underground laboratory here. Look. There are so many human specimens. These must be the homeless people you mentioned. Reporter A said seriously. Eddie Brock, stop it, I have eyes, do you need to tell me? Eddie complained in his heart, but his hands did not stop at all. He took out a small camera and kept taking pictures of the horrifying scenes he saw. After all, he took such a big risk to sneak in. If he didn't take more pictures now, wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Soon, the two came to the door of a compartment made of tempered glass, but saw a long-haired man in the compartment curled up in the corner and trembled constantly, as if he was suppressing something. Quick, rescue him. Eddie pointed to reporter A on the side and said. Eddie knew that it would be difficult to completely bring down a large company like Life Fund if it only relied on some photos, but if there were witnesses and evidence, it would be another matter. Isn't this man in front of him the best witness? Reporter A immediately stepped forward and fumbled for the mechanism to open the door. Soon, he set his eyes on the electronic lock on the side. Eddie, this thing needs a password. Reporter A frowned and said. Are you stupid? Can't you just smash it? It's just tempered glass. Do you think it's imported from China? Eddie glanced at reporter A with disdain, and immediately took out a fire axe from the firebox beside him and threw it to reporter A. Quick, don't waste time. Reporter A held the fire axe in one hand and gave Eddie a thumbs up with the other hand. Okay, you are worthy of being a senior. You are familiar with it. No wonder you are so popular. He swung the fire axe and smashed it at the tempered glass. Bang! With just one hit, the tempered glass immediately cracked into countless web-like marks like a spider web. Damn it, use all your strength to get the girl. Looking at reporter A's light hand, Eddie, who was holding a camera and taking pictures, immediately encouraged him. Strength to get the girl? Reporter A's eyes suddenly flashed. Ah! A flash of cold light flashed, and the fire axe smashed directly on the tempered glass with the force of thunder. Bang! In an instant, glass shards flew everywhere, and the compartment door made entirely of tempered glass was instantly smashed to pieces. Gudong. Eddie swallowed deeply, and then his eyes subconsciously glanced between the legs of reporter A. This is a werewolf. Don't mess with it, don't mess with it. He thought so in his heart. That's not right, why is there no alarm? The Life Fund is not so poor that it can't even afford an alarm bell. Eddie seemed to have thought of something, and subconsciously took 2 steps back. However, at this moment, the long-haired man who was originally shivering in the corner seemed to be frightened by the huge movement just now. He suddenly stood up from the corner, and then pounced on reporter A with lightning speed. P.S. Look carefully, it's the word shocked and shocked, not that. Reporter A had just used all his strength and was still confused. He never thought that the long-haired man would rush towards him regardless of everything. He was stunned. When he reacted, he was already pressed down by the long-haired man. Oh hey! What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't like this. As soon as the voice fell, the long-haired man opened his mouth and stuffed it directly. Then, countless blue mucus gushed out of his mouth frantically and poured directly into the body of reporter A. Oh hey! No, don't. Before he finished speaking, the blue mucus had completely penetrated into his body. At this time, reporter A's eyeballs immediately turned into pure black without any white in the eyes. Pop! Pushing away the long-haired man who was pressing on him, reporter A stood up from the spot like a zombie, shaking and shaking. Obviously, this was the symbiote adapting to its new body. This scene really scared Eddie, who was standing aside. Fortunately, Eddie is worthy of being the hero in the original plot. At the critical moment, he immediately took out a fire extinguisher from the nearby firebox, unplugged the card without saying a word, and sprayed it directly at reporter A. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Countless dry ice powders sprayed out from the nozzle of the fire extinguisher, instantly dyeing reporter A into a big white. However, at this time, reporter A had already been possessed by the symbiote, so how could he be afraid of a mere dry ice fire extinguisher? He was seen shaking his body, and the frost attached to his body's surface was immediately shaken off. Food, food. Reporter A shouted at Eddie incoherently, and then rushed towards Eddie again. Although Eddie is an experienced investigative reporter, he has never seen such a scene before, and he was immediately scared. Subconsciously, he threw the empty fire extinguisher can in his hand at Reporter A, and then immediately turned around and ran. "Hey, hunting time!" Reporter A murmured softly, and immediately chased after Eddie. After the previous adaptation, Reporter A's movements were no longer as stiff as before, and his speed was even increasing. Just as he turned a corner, a figure suddenly blocked his way. Then, a fist as big as a casserole hit him in the face. Bang! Reporter A was directly blown 5 meters away by this powerful punch, and only stopped when he hit the load-bearing column beside him. What was that just now? Reporter A stood up again, and as his body squirmed, the broken bones were immediately restored with a crackling sound. However, when he looked in the previous direction, there was no one. And Eddie. As early as the moment Marfa knocked Reporter A away, he had already got into the elevator and ran away. As the saying goes, it is better to die than to die. Seeing that his teammate was not right, Eddie could not care about him. He had a beautiful wife waiting for him at home. There was no reason to die with him, right? Where are you? Get out! Reporter A yelled. However, Marfa, who had already used the invisibility spell to enter the invisible state, would not pay attention to the opponent's impotent rage. Temptation light. As the skill was used, a flash of lightning flashed, and Reporter A was immediately stunned. In his spiritual sea of consciousness, 3 figures appeared at this time. Chapter 112, Subjugating the Phantom. Who are you? Get out of my body. In the sea of consciousness, Reporter A was roaring wildly at the blue monster in front of him. One of them was less than 2 meters tall, and the other was nearly 10 meters tall. The difference in size was extremely huge. However, the huge blue monster didn't care about the weak human in front of him at all, but looked at the other side with a serious face. Because just now, a bigger figure appeared in their world of 2. The person was about 20 meters tall, wearing a gray-white Taoist robe, holding a long sword flashing with cold light in his hand, and looking at the blue monster in front of him with a smirk. There is no doubt that this giant with a height of more than 20 meters is Marfa, who just entered the sea of consciousness of Reporter A through the light of temptation. Following the blue monster's line of sight, Reporter A also found Marfa's figure. So big. Oh my God. Soon, Reporter A reacted. Help. God, it must be you, please save me. Obviously, compared to the symbiote's blue body and devil-like face, Marfa is a human figure, so Reporter A immediately associated it with the god he believed in. Compared to the symbiote that occupied his body, Reporter A is more willing to trust the human in front of him. God? Marfa lowered his head and glanced at himself. What's going on? Why did he appear in the image of the game? Could it be that this is the projection of my spiritual consciousness? Holding the demon-slaying hand with a little chill in his hand, Marfa roughly understood the so-called Taoist version of the light of temptation. To put it bluntly, isn't it just a copy of Apocalypse's ability to possess other bodies in X-Men? The stronger the mental power, the larger the body will be after entering the spiritual sea of consciousness. This is exactly the same as the scene when Apocalypse possessed Professor X. My poor child, don't worry, this is just a nightmare, everything will pass. Remember, I am not God, please call me Doi. After saying that, Marfa raised his sword and slashed at the blue symbiote. Roar. Although the blue symbiote was very afraid of Marfa's size, it was impossible for it to surrender easily just because of this. It immediately let out a long roar to the sky, and then saw its hands turned into long swords and rushed towards Marfa in the same way. Interesting. Marfa's mouth corners slightly raised, and then he swept away thousands of troops. Bang bang. The sound of 2 rounds of metal clashing sounded, and immediately caused the surrounding space to shake. Whether it was the blue symbiote or Marfa, the mental power at this time was far beyond the ability of Reporter A's sea of consciousness to bear. This simple blow directly caused Reporter A's sea of consciousness to suffer a heavy blow. Therefore, along with the shaking of space, Reporter A's projection in the sea of consciousness also became illusory, and his eyes lost their previous agility. There is no doubt that this person is useless. Even if he wakes up, the best result is to become a madman. Of course, it is not impossible for him to become a vegetable. Ha ha ha, I have to thank you for helping me. Without that annoying consciousness, I can better control his body. The blue symbiote roared madly. Unlike Marfa's temptation light needs to retain the consciousness of the target and imprint the spirit in order to successfully enslave the target. The parasitism of the symbiote is different. If the host is a vegetable without self-awareness, the symbiote will be more comfortable controlling it. Therefore, it is not wrong for the blue symbiote to say so. Really? Are you so sure that I am helping you? Marfa said with a teasing expression. Immediately, he increased his strength again. In an instant, the symbiote, which could barely resist a little bit before, was immediately pressed back several steps by the huge force from the double swords. In the sea of consciousness, the size of the body is the reflection of the strength of the mental power. You are only about half of me, where do you get the courage to be so arrogant? After saying that, Marfa suddenly turned around and slashed, and the sword flashed, directly cutting off one of the arms of the blue symbiote. At the same time, the sea of consciousness of Reporter A was completely shattered by the power of Marfa's sword. Alice, I originally wanted to save you, but I didn't expect that you couldn't bear it after just one confrontation. It's better to reincarnate earlier than half dead. Amitabha. No, it should be said that William Shianzan. Looking around at the scene that was constantly collapsing, Marfa couldn't help but murmured secretly. From this moment on, Reporter A's consciousness completely disappeared from the world, and although his body was still alive, it was only because his body functions were still operating autonomously that he became a kind of living dead. You, how can your mental power be so strong? You are not human, absolutely not. The blue symbiote roared wildly. As a projection of spiritual consciousness, both Marfa and the blue symbiote can recover from injuries in an instant, but the price is that the size of the blue symbiote has suddenly shrunk from about 10 meters to about 8 meters. It couldn't beat Marfa in its prime before, so how can it fight Marfa now? For a moment, the blue symbiote seemed to feel the despair of Reporter A before. Soulfire Talisman. Marfa put his fingers together to form a sword and pointed directly at the blue symbiote, but this time there was no talisman flying out as he expected. Can't the spiritual consciousness use skills? Marfa thought in his heart. Now Marfa is not so much taming the blue symbiote as testing the skills of the light of temptation. After all, if you want to better control skills, only practice can give you true knowledge. Submit, you are very valuable, I don't want to wipe you out directly. Seeing that it was almost done, Marfa immediately threw an olive branch to the blue symbiote. Of course, he could also use force to forcefully mentally brand the blue symbiote, but if that were the case, not only would he have to occupy one of his pet catching quotas, but it would also be difficult for Pietro to fully exert the power of the symbiote in the future. You should know that the magician's temptation light can only catch 5 pets, and Marfa can't guarantee that his limit is also 5. Submission? Ha ha ha. Do you want me to be your pet? Or do you fancy my power? The blue symbiote roared unwillingly. No, you think too highly of yourself. Seeing that the blue symbiote was still so arrogant, Marfa immediately swung out another sword. Still an arm fell on the spot, and the blue symbiote's size shrank again, this time only more than 6 meters. Well, cut him a few more times to reduce his mental strength as much as possible, so as not to bite back Pietro in the future. Marfa thought so in his heart. He immediately rushed towards the blue symbiote again. 1 cut, 2 cuts, 3 cuts. As its arms were cut off one by one, the height of the blue symbiote had shrunk to about the same size as Reporter AM. I have to cut a few more times. God knows if my silly brother can tame such a big spiritual consciousness. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. He immediately raised the demon-slaying sword in his hand again and waved it towards the blue symbiote. The blue symbiote no longer had the arrogance it had before. With its current state, if it wanted to parasitize humans, it would probably only be able to parasitize those with weaker mental will. Those with a stronger belief might be able to bite him back. If it gets hit a few more times, it might only be able to host some cats and dogs. Stop it, spare me. Puff. Another arm was cut off, and this time the blue symbiote was completely turned into a dwarf. Fuck. Didn't I say I would spare the symbiote? I am willing to surrender. Sorry, I was so happy just now that I didn't pay attention. Blue symbiote. This world is about to collapse. Since you've surrendered, let's retreat first. Looking at the dwarf kneeling on one knee in front of him, Marfa said in a deep voice. Blue symbiote, collapse? It's not your fault? Blame me? The projection of the mental consciousness dissipated, and Marfa's consciousness returned to his body. Not bad. After so much time in the sea of consciousness of Reporter A, it only took less than 1 second in reality. In other words, the Taoist version of temptation light does not have the function of immobilization. Looking at his watch, Marfa once again supplemented the skill effect of temptation light in his heart. Hey, so-and-so, why don't you get back to your Pokeball? Marfa pointed at Reporter A, and then pointed at the glass jar not far away that was originally used to hold the symbiote. Remember, never mind. My name is Phantom. After leaving these words, the blue symbiote immediately separated from Reporter A's body and crawled back into its own Pokeball. Chapter 113 Cyborgs vs. Venom. 15 minutes later, Marfa returned to the monitoring room again. After making sure that no camera captured her, she left the life fund with satisfaction. Little yellow and little blue, not bad, this time the harvest is rich. Sure enough, what I saw on the internet in my previous life was pure speculation. What chaos, what howling, they clearly called. Little yellow and little blue, that's right. But where did Venom go? Could it be that it was the same as the original plot, and it possessed Eddie when I wasn't paying attention? Marfa thought so. At the same time, at Morris Manor in Kansas. After eating 3 sheep in a row, Venom licked his tongue that was so long that all women could be excited, and his face was full of satisfaction. Brother, have you eaten well? Let's continue. Flash whispered. Almost 80% full, wait a little longer, I'll go to the cow shed to get some milk, I ate too fast just now and I'm a little choked. Venom patted his stomach and said. Flash. Good fellow, you have stolen 3 sheep and you still think it is not enough, you want to steal milk? Why don't you go to the sky? Flash complained in his heart. Boy, if I have wings, I will definitely go to the sky to show you. Flash and Venom shared a body at this time, and their spirits were connected. How could Venom not know Flash's thoughts? And he spoke immediately. However, just as Venom was about to go to the cow shed, Venom suddenly stopped. Then Venom's eyes, which were originally like salted eggs, narrowed instantly. Someone is coming. As soon as the voice fell, Venom immediately dodged a few times and hid in a corner of the wall, hiding his figure under the cover of night. At the same time, a car stopped at the gate of Morris Manor. Then he saw Cyborg Obadiah got out of the car. With the mechanized electronic eyes, Obadiah just glanced and found the hiding place of Venom. Haha, little guy, play cat and mouse with me. Obadiah's mouth corners slightly raised, and he looked at Venom with a look like a fool. Don't hide, let's go out. Venom said to Flash and immediately walked out of the shadows. Immediately, he looked at Obadiah with an angry face. As the caretaker of the symbiote laboratory, Venom is naturally very familiar with Obadiah. When they first came to Earth, Venom, Phantom and Sandstorm were actually very grateful to the Life Fund, because the planet where their symbiotes originally lived was destroyed in their excessive demands because it could not bear the symbiote community. As a last resort, all the symbiotes boarded a high-speed flying comet together, and then fell into hibernation, trying to find a new home in the vast universe. The appearance of the Life One spacecraft undoubtedly gave the symbiotes hope. Fortunately, Venom and other 4 symbiotes were selected by the astronauts of Life One and successfully brought to Earth. After seeing that there are so many humans on Earth, whether it is Venom and other symbiotes locked in the laboratory of the Life Fund building, or Riot, the symbiote wandering towards the Life Fund, they all fell into a state of ecstasy. This is all food. If the Earth can be used as a pasture for symbiotes, the population of 6 or 7 billion alone is enough to feed the symbiote family. But gradually, Venom, Sandstorm and Phantom were no longer happy. Because they found that the people of the Life Fund actually treated them as guinea pigs. Not to mention locking them in the laboratory and not letting them out. The most important thing is that they are constantly experimenting on them every day. With such treatment, let alone the arrogant symbiote, anyone would be furious. Before Flash, Venom was also arranged by Carlton to merge with several humans, but one by one, they either had a huge fear of Venom or were not genetically compatible with Venom. In short, in the end, they were all used as food by Venom. Until one day, a small piece of living cell was sent to Venom. This living cell is very compatible with the symbiont in terms of genes. Venom even felt a strong vitality on it, as if it was a newborn baby. Therefore, Venom secretly remembered the smell of this living cell. Soon, the opportunity came. Due to the security personnel's work error, Venom successfully slipped out of the experimental compartment, so he immediately followed the smell in his memory to find flesh. After the two merged, Venom was surprised to find that the human being he parasitized was completely different from the ones he had met before. Not only was he not afraid of Venom, he even took the initiative to show goodwill to Venom. This is amazing, and it instantly aroused Venom's interest. And with the in-depth communication between the two, Venom also discovered an interesting thing. This human who looked like 16 or 17 years old had no memory of the past. So, Venom was curious and took him in as a younger brother. This is the birth of this strange combination. Flash Thompson, I know you are different. You should be aware of it now. Bring your pet back with me. Your father is waiting for you at home. Obadiah persuaded while charging the plasma cannon. After all, he is Gamora's beloved son. Although he is just a clone, as a partner, Obadiah still wants to give Gamora some face. Otherwise, if Flash is injured, Gamora will inevitably scold him when he returns. No, you are all lying to me. I asked him many times about my past, but he didn't say a word. I am like a pet there, being raised by you. I don't want it, I don't want this, I want to know who I am. I want to go there to find my past. As he said this, Flash pointed to the northeast of New York. Gamora just doesn't want you to be hurt again. He wants to protect you. Come back with me. This is my last time to persuade you. Seeing Flash resist, Obadiah's face immediately turned cold. Boy, let me eat him. I'm not full yet. Seeing that the two could not reach an agreement, Venom's consciousness in Flush immediately took back control of the body and said in a deep voice, HMPH, if you don't accept my toast, you'll have to drink a penalty. Obadiah snorted coldly and immediately fired a plasma cannon at Venom. In an instant, a basketball-sized azure electric ball flew out, shooting towards Venom with countless arcs. Before coming here, Obadiah had already obtained a lot of information about Venom. As long as the other party is not completely destroyed, the symbiote will be able to recover completely after a period of cultivation. Therefore, Obadiah was not worried that he would make a mistake and destroy Venom. Seeing that the plasma cannon was about to hide him, Venom immediately shot out several streams of black mucus from his body. However, the mucus quickly solidified in the air, and then shrank rapidly like a rubber band, causing Venom's body to move horizontally more than 10 meters away in just a moment. With your slow attack, you think you can defeat me? Venom grinned disdainfully, revealing a mouthful of steel-like teeth. He immediately jumped and appeared right above Obadiah. Look at me chopping you into pieces. As soon as the voice fell, Venom's hands instantly extended 7 or 8 meters like rubber sticks, and his palms also turned into 2 moon blades in an instant, slashing towards Obadiah. Bang bang bang. Accompanied by bursts of metal clashing sounds, countless sparks immediately flew out. But looking at Obadiah again, he seemed to be fine, still standing straight. On his semi-mechanized hands, countless metal pieces ejected, forming 2 huge metal shields, protecting him. That's it? Too weak. Chapter 114 Venom's Death. After suffering a loss in Marfa, Obadiah has learned from his mistakes and dared not relax at all. Especially after receiving funding from the Life Fund, he not only learned fighting skills, but also further improved the mechanical structure of his body. Now the mechanical structure on Obadiah's arms can be transformed into sharp blades or shields through the ejected metal pieces, and can even be transformed into boxing gloves after switching to melee form. Combined with the serum obtained from the Hulk, he can be said to be armed to the teeth. Therefore, even though Venom's dodge just now surprised him a lot, the sharp blades transformed by his hands were not enough to break Obadiah's defense. Boy, this guy is very difficult to deal with. After landing, Venom made a landing action that he thought was cool, and said to the fresh consciousness in his body, well, this guy is like a turtle, wrapped in a thick layer of metal armor. It is not easy to chop his armor with a sharp blade. Fresh consciousness also echoed. HMPH, that's all. Watch me show you. As soon as the words fell, Venom immediately rushed towards Obadiah in a zigzag pattern. Obadiah continued to maintain the shield in his left hand calmly, and transformed the shield in his right hand into a metal blade. Come on, let me teach you what it means to respect your elders today. At this time, Obadiah was like an ancient warrior, holding a shield in one hand and a sword in the other, staring at Venom like an eagle, ready to deal with Venom's sudden attack at any time. Flash, cooperate with me. When he came close to Obadiah, Venom shouted. Then, 2 more arms grew on Venom's shoulders. Look at our combo. Quadruple. Venom machine gun. As soon as the words fell, Venom's forearms suddenly stretched out, and his forearms turned into 4 rubber hammers at the same time. Then, the forearms stretched out like rubber and attacked Obadiah. Bang, bang, bang. Obadiah raised the shield in his left hand and predicted the trajectory of Venom's attack through the electronic eye scan, and blocked Venom's attacks one by one with the shield. Ha ha ha, kids are just kids. However, before Obadiah finished speaking, he was interrupted by Venom on the opposite side. It's not over yet. The arm that had just attacked Obadiah's shield suddenly contracted like a leather rope, and then attacked Obadiah again. Bang, bang, bang. Another 4 heavy punches, but Obadiah still caught them one by one. But this time, Obadiah's brows frowned slightly, because he clearly felt that this attack was much more powerful than the previous round. However, Venom did not stop the attack. He saw its forearms constantly attacking, rebounding, and attacking. It was like a hail of bullets constantly attacking Obadiah. Due to the acceleration of the rebound force, even the attack force of each round will increase significantly. After 10 rounds of attacks, the shield in Obadiah's hand could no longer withstand the continuous superposition of Venom's force. Many places were sunken. See, this is us. The power of 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Venom kept shaking his head as his forearms waved, and roared loudly, as if he had already won. See, the children's game of playing house is really interesting. After enduring so many attacks from Venom, Obadiah finally found out the flaws of Venom's move with the help of the electronic eye. Seeing that a new round of gunfire and rain of bullets was about to come, Obadiah suddenly appeared with blue light. The whole person was like Super Saiyan Blue, wrapped in countless blue arcs. You know, Obadiah has the gene fragments of electric rays in his body, and it is easy for the body to stimulate the cells with electricity. But Obadiah took 2 steps back at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye, and then raised the sharp blade in his right hand and chopped at the arm that Venom stretched out. As Obadiah's sharp blade with arcs attached to it chopped down with a burst of blue light. In an instant, a pure black arm made of mucus fell to the ground. Before Venom could react, Obadiah chopped 3 times in a row, and Venom, who was so powerful before, immediately became timid. Boy, I can't beat him. I'm not as fast as him, and I can't run away. Get out of here and find your past. As expected of Venom, he said the most cowardly words in the most arrogant tone. As soon as the voice fell, Venom broke away from Frush's body, and then rushed towards Obadiah like a ball of squirming mud. Although he had been with Frush for a short time, Venom liked this kid who was often bullied by him. On the planet where the symbiote originally lived, Venom was almost the weakest existence, so he was often bullied. But Flush, who was as innocent as a newborn baby, really let Venom experience the fun of bullying. Now facing a strong enemy, since he can't run away, he can only fight with the opponent. Instead of dying together, it is better to leave a glimmer of hope for his cute little brother. Thinking of this, Venom's crawling speed also increased a little. Humph, are you willing to go back with me? Seeing Venom break away from the host and crawl towards him, Obadiah couldn't help but feel happy. Without the symbiote, Flush is just a newborn calf. It is not easy to catch him back. Immediately, Obadiah took out the Pokeball specially used for symbiotes, opened the lid of the glass jar, and placed it in front of Venom. If it had been done earlier, we wouldn't have had to fight. Obadiah's tone softened a little at this time. He was very satisfied watching Venom squirming towards the glass jar. But when Venom was about to get into the Pokeball, it suddenly attacked and jumped high on Obadiah. Asshole! You're looking for death? Ah! Obadiah yelled madly. As Venom continued to merge with Obadiah, Obadiah felt as if another consciousness had appeared in his body, competing with him for the dominance of his body. In this case, it's not my fault. Obadiah shouted loudly. In an instant, countless electric currents burst out of his body. Ah! This time it was Venom's turn to scream. The symbiote was most afraid of flames, high temperatures and sound waves. The high-intensity current bursting out of Obadiah's body just met the high-temperature condition. So, Venom immediately began to struggle frantically like a shrimp on a charcoal stove. Boy, get out. I don't want to see you anymore. Venom roared wildly while enduring the severe pain all over his body. Big brother. Flash looked at Venom, who was struggling in pain, and tears fell from his eyes for a moment. Get out. Seeing that Venom was restricting Obadiah by fighting for the dominance of the body, Flash gritted his teeth and turned around and ran out of the farm. Soon, Flash found Obadiah's car parked outside the farm, looked at the open door and the lock without the key in time. Flash did not hesitate, got in immediately, stepped on the accelerator, and drove away. "Old man, you are very strong, but I would rather die than obey." Looking at Flash who was going away, Venom opened his big mouth full of sharp teeth again and smiled. "Then you can die." Boom. Another flash of lightning flashed. Obadiah completely regained control of his body, and a pile of black material that looked like burnt plastic appeared in front of him. "Humph. Looks like I'm going to be scolded by Carlton and Gamora this time." Picking up the venomous corpse on the ground, Obadiah walked towards an old truck in the manor while cursing. "In a house in Morris Manor. Eula, I was dazzled, weren't I? Those two just now." A middle-aged man looked through the window at Obadiah walking towards his car, and said with lingering fear, "Dear, it's okay. Everything will pass." The middle-aged woman hugged her husband and comforted him, but her eyes turned pure black at a certain moment. Chapter 115 Sandstorm's Special Hobby. Back at the hotel, Marfa couldn't help but sigh as she watched Toby, who was now hugging two girls and having fun. Toby had changed. After Mary Jane died, Toby's heart also died. From that day on, Toby no longer had the image of a shy boy, but became a prodigal like Tony. It is very appropriate to describe Toby as a groom every day, a bride every night, and a mother-in-law every day. Fortunately, Toby is still very sensible. Except for the almost subversive changes in his treatment of women, other aspects remain the same. Especially in managing the Sunzi gang, in order to better protect the people, collect protection fees, Toby has already fought with a Kingpin gang and is determined to kick out all the Kingpin gang forces in New York. For this reason, Toby has participated in various battles in the past few days. "Hey, Marfa, are you back? By the way, Mr. Drake is really good, and the girls he arranges are all very hot." Toby greeted Marfa with a smile, but there was an unconcealable loneliness in the depths of his eyes. Obviously, Mary Jane's death was a huge blow to him, and Toby still hasn't gotten out of the shadow until now. "Alice. It's time to find a partner for him, but it's a pity that he didn't get the venom this time." Marfa sighed in her heart. "Okay, girls, thank you for your hard work. Toby has been here for the past 2 days, so let's stop here tonight." Marfa clapped her hands and called back the girls who were courting Toby. What happened? Toby knew Marfa very well. Although he was very dissatisfied with his ridiculous behavior, he never bothered him. There must be a reason for his current behavior. "You need a partner," Marfa said seriously. "Partner? Ha, don't I have a lot?" Toby was stunned for 2 seconds, and the loneliness on his face flashed away, and then he smiled and said as if nothing had happened. Forget it. I was planning to find you a black girl, but since you're so impatient, Zio Wong, I'll decide on you." After saying that, Marfa took out the glass jar containing the symbiote, Sandstorm, from her backpack. Looking at the yellow mucus that kept rolling in the glass jar in Marfa's hand, Toby suddenly felt nauseous, and the wine he had just drunk suddenly had an urge to burst through Toby's throat and gush out. "Ah. Hey. Marfa, are you kidding me? Is this the person you just said you would find for me?" When Toby first heard Marfa say that she was going to find a partner for him, he thought Marfa was going to introduce his beautiful sister to him. Unexpectedly, Marfa actually took out a pile of shit. What a joke. Although Toby, tall, short, fat, and thin, can accept anyone, but at least it has to be a person, even a man. What does it mean to give a pile of shit? Before Toby could figure it out, Marfa opened the jar directly. After receiving Marfa's order, the yellow mucus gushed out instantly and shot towards Toby. But it underestimated Toby after all. After all, he was an agent who had been trained by Natasha, not to mention that he had spider sense. How could Toby be parasitized by Sandstorm so easily? "Don't hide, this is a good thing. If it weren't for your hungry look all day, I wouldn't be willing to give it to you." As he said that, Marfa immediately bound Toby with telekinesis. "Zio Wong, don't do it yet." Gurgle gurgle. The yellow symbiote on the ground that had just missed the opportunity emitted 2 bubbles, as if responding to Marfa. Immediately, it jumped up again and pounced on Toby. "Woo woo woo, don't go deep. Throat. Woo woo woo." Sandstorm didn't care what Toby thought in his heart. Although the symbiote didn't have to enter through the mouth, it could also go directly through the pores. But Sandstorm likes this, Or rather, most of the symbiotes like this. Soon, Sandstorm completely penetrated into Toby's body. And Toby, who was forced to do that, fell to the ground with a pale face and vomited continuously. Marfa. You bastard, I didn't expect you to have such a fetish. Toby complained with dry heaves. Xiao Wang, he will be yours from now on. You two get along well, don't do anything to me, otherwise I will kill you. Leaving this sentence, Marfa walked straight to his room. Master. My name is Sand. Oh, forget it, forget it. Boy, do you hear me? You will be my masters from now on. Obey me, and I will take you to eat delicious food and drink spicy food. Sandstorm said to Toby's consciousness. What's the situation? Who are you? Why? Halfway through his words, Toby suddenly realized that the person talking to him might be the yellow liquid that had just stabbed his throat. However, as he thought about it, a golden Spider-Man combat suit suddenly appeared on Toby's body the next second. Unlike Toby's original black Skynet combat suit, this golden combat suit was extremely exaggerated. The color was as dazzling as a star in the dark night. Fuck. So cool. Grabbing his 10 fingers, Toby felt that his ability seemed to have made a qualitative leap, and the surging power continued to flow out of his body. Even the spider silk he shot was a little tougher than before. Boy, are you fascinated by my strength? Ho ha ho ha. As long as you listen, Hela, remember, from now on you belong to me, Sandstorm. Sandstorm's voice sounded in Toby's ears again. Toby's excited expression immediately drooped. This time it was cold. This thing called Sandstorm couldn't be a gay. Toby wailed in his heart, as if he had seen his miserable future. However, this strength improvement is really good. And what about Marfa? At this time, he was sitting on his bed, holding the glass jar of the symbiote, Phantom in one hand, and holding the life necklace in the other hand. Wanda and Pietro should like these two things very much. But what about me? Xiao Wang has already given it to Toby, so the only ones left are Venom and Riot. To be honest, Marfa has a special feeling for Venom, after all, he is the protagonist. But Venom's strength is really not flattering. Otherwise, when we find Venom later, we can melt him as a skill enhancement material. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. But he immediately denied this idea. After all, it is a living life with independent consciousness. If it is integrated into the skill, who knows what will happen? Don't look back. The little white or the beast summoned don't listen to your orders. This is very embarrassing. You can't waste the quota of the light of temptation and control your summons again. It was only a matter of time before Riot showed up. After all, only the Life Foundation knew where the comet was. Riot wanted to bring all the symbiotes to Earth to create his symbiote empire. Therefore, he would definitely look for Carlton Greet, the CEO of the Life Foundation. As long as he kept an eye on Carlton, he would always be able to wait for Riot to show up. But what about Venom? That guy was very cowardly, and now he was taken away by Eddie. Oh. Wait, Eddie. Marfa seemed to have thought of something and was stunned. Oh no. Eddie left with Venom and a bunch of evidence of the Life Foundation's human experiments. If you wrote that evidence into a news report, the Life Foundation would definitely be investigated and blocked by relevant agencies. Maybe Carlton would flee for fear of crime. If that happens, what about Riot? Marfa secretly thought that she was careless and had not considered this beforehand. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Sheep in the Tiger's Mouth. Marfa had only wanted to expose the illegal research of the Life Fund through Eddie, so as to pass the blame to Eddie and complete the task assigned by Nick Fury. Originally, there was nothing wrong with this plan. But Marfa had underestimated one thing, the Riot. If the Life Fund was blocked and investigated by the relevant departments, Carlton Drake would no longer be able to use the company's resources. Carlton, who had lost his value, would naturally not be able to find him again. In this way, how could Marfa obtain the strongest symbiote that had appeared in the movie in such a vast sea of people? At this point, all Marfa could do was pray that Eddie had not uploaded any relevant information. As long as Eddie was found before then and detained until the Riot appeared, everything would be perfect. Otherwise, he might have missed a Riot. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately dialed Tony Stark's number. Tony, I have something to trouble you. Eddie Brock of the Los Angeles Times immediately asked Jarvis to ban all his social accounts and tell me his phone location. Let's leave it to fate and do our best. Alice. At the same time, the riot at Marfa had been thinking about had already parasitized Carlton Greet. What should we do now? Go to the laboratory to liberate your kind first. Carlton Drake was feeling the surging power in his body with excitement at this time, and said excitedly. He succeeded. Since discovering the existence of symbiotes, Carlton wanted to use the power of symbiotes to make humans evolve further, so as to gain the ability to survive in the harsh cosmic environment. After all, unlike humans, symbiotes are anaerobic. If they are in an oxygen environment for a long time and cannot find a host, the symbiote will gradually lose its activity due to the erosion of oxygen and eventually lose its life. This allows symbiotes to survive well, whether in the glass container specially made by the Life Fund or in the anaerobic or low oxygen state of the cosmic environment. But after parasitizing the human body, the symbiont is no longer affected by oxygen. Thinking about it in reverse, humans rely on oxygen to survive. If there is no oxygen, they will suffocate to death. So what if they combine with the symbiont? It can be imagined that humans also have the ability of the symbiont to survive in an oxygen-free environment. In this way, without the constraints of oxygen, coupled with the increase in the human body by the symbiont, there is no doubt that this will inevitably open a new era of exploration of the universe. From now on, the Earth will no longer be the only place for human survival. Okay, with their help, maybe we will be smoother, but the most urgent thing is to prepare the spacecraft first. We must take all my millions of people to the Earth as soon as possible. They have been hungry for too long. If they don't get food supplements, even in hibernation, they can't last too long. Riot thought for a while and said, Okay, I'll arrange it now. If everything goes well, we can set off tomorrow morning. Carlton was so excited that he was shaking a little at this time. After all, the dream he had been pursuing for a lifetime was about to come true. Wait. Just as Carlton took out his mobile phone to make arrangements, Riot called Carlton. Let's replenish my energy first. I'm so hungry after all the rush. As soon as he finished speaking, Carlton immediately turned into a silver giant nearly 3 meters tall. He stretched out his arms and grabbed the unconscious female secretary on the ground, then bit off her head. Chicken flavor, crunchy. Ha ha ha. But why does this woman have your taste in her mouth? Riot asked with some confusion. Well, because, last night. When asked by Riot, Carlton's face suddenly turned red, and he didn't know how to explain it. Soon, Carlton drove to the Life Fund, but when he took the elevator and walked into the symbiote underground laboratory, his whole face turned black as if he was possessed by venom. Bastard! Who's on duty today? Carlton's roar immediately caused the entire underground laboratory to tremble. Seeing that 3 elite confidants fainted on the ground one after another, an unknown anger rushed straight to his head. Soon, Carlton found Reporter A lying on the ground. Looking at the security uniform on Reporter A and the broken camera that had fallen to the ground, Carlton immediately realized something. He didn't care about anything else and ran to the monitoring room. As expected, all the staff on duty were lying on the ground in a mess. Without saying anything, Carlton immediately retrieved the surveillance video, but the surveillance camera in the underground laboratory had been destroyed by Marfa, so he could not see anything. Fortunately, Carlton did not get nothing. At least the camera also captured the scene of Reporter A and Eddie Brock coming out of the drainage well. It's him. At this moment, Carlton Drake's eyes instantly became sharp. Eddie Brock, the reporter who made him lose face during the day, how could Carlton forget it? It's clear, everything is clear. Needless to say, this reporter must have failed to ask anything during the day, so he sneaked into the laboratory at night to dig up the news and took away his 2 symbiotes. As for the Reporter A who fell in the laboratory, it was obviously because he was attacked by the experimental subject and his brain was injured. Carlton said so confidently in his heart. Should we catch this reporter first? Your kind must be in his hands. Carlton asked Riot's consciousness. Forget it, none of this is important. The most urgent task is to bring those people in the universe back to Earth first. Riot said after a little contemplation. Unlike Riot, Carlton thought more. Although the Life Fund had already prepared to launch the spacecraft again, the comet carrying the symbiote was moving, and it would take time to reposition. That's why Carlton said that the fastest way to set off is to wait until dawn. But what if Eddie handed the evidence he took to the relevant departments like SHIELD during this period? I'm afraid that the rocket will be stopped before it takes off. The more Carlton thought about it, the angrier he became, and he cursed all the women in Eddie's family one by one in his heart. It seems that he can only urgently transfer back Obadiah to buy time. With Obadiah's flying speed, he should be able to get back soon. At this point, it was a foregone conclusion that they would confront those mysterious organizations, and there was no need for Obadiah to hide it anymore. At most, they could take Obadiah with them. When they returned to Earth with a whole ship full of symbiotes, who could stop them? Thinking of this, Carlton immediately picked up the phone and contacted Obadiah, who was driving an old truck back to California. On the other side, at the U.S. military headquarters, General Ross was looking at the blue-haired giant in front of him with a greedy look on his face. This is simply great. General Ross stroked Samuel Stern, who had transformed into a blue-haired giant, as if he was stroking a perfect work of art, and even his breathing became heavy. General, I have only completed the initial experiment. As long as I have more Hulk serum, I will definitely be able to make a more perfect masterpiece. Samuel vowed. But General Ross's mouth was slightly raised. No need, I am very satisfied with you. You have perfectly controlled the power of that monster, ha. As soon as General Ross finished speaking, dozens of machine guns were aimed at Samuel. As long as you cooperate with me in the experiment, I can let you go. General Ross said in a cold tone. No, General, I only achieved the fusion of 20% concentration serum. If you give me more samples, I will definitely be able to make a more powerful experimental subject for you. Samuel Stern took 2 steps back and said in a panic. Ha. This is really the funniest joke I have ever heard. I, Thaddeus E. Ross, have never been controlled by others. Do you think I have to rely on you? Don't forget, I have the blood sample extracted from Steve Rogers in my hand. I have restored the super soldier serum a long time ago. Although it is not perfect, as long as it is combined with your serum, it is enough to create an indestructible super army. After saying that, General Ross immediately waved his hand and signaled his men to take Samuel down. Oh, I miscalculated. I didn't expect that I would be so close. Samuel knew that he might have led a sheep into the tiger's mouth this time, but he was unwilling to accept that he would become a little white mouse on the laboratory table. He had not yet won the Nobel Prize in biology, and he had not yet engraved his name in the history of mankind for future generations to pass on. Thinking of this, Samuel immediately yelled and rushed towards the glass beside him. Chapter 117 Samuel Never Surrenders. Samuel was in a bitter mood at this moment. He had already expected that the military would have bad intentions towards him, so before transforming, Samuel handed a data report of his body to General Ross. After all, it was only 20% concentration of serum. How much can it improve? If Samuel was used as the source of the experiment, the final experimental product would only be weaker. But what Samuel never expected was that the military actually restored the super soldier serum that Captain America, Steve Rogers, had used. In this case, does the concentration matter? Since neither of them is a perfect product, if they are combined, they are probably not much different from the perfect product. Swish. Swish. Anesthesia bullets were continuously shot into Samuel's body, but Samuel smiled coldly. Do you really think that I, Samuel Stern, came here without any preparation? After saying that, Samuel immediately took out 2 anesthetic-relieving drugs from his pocket and stuffed them into his mouth, and then took out a strong adrenaline and gave himself a shot. In just a moment, the adrenaline and the medicine Samuel prepared himself took effect. His head, which was still dizzy just now, immediately became clear again. Roar. Samuel roared wildly, and then continued to run quickly towards the planned retreat route. Humph, I didn't expect that the arrangement that I thought was unnecessary would actually come in handy. Samuel thought secretly in his heart, but he didn't dare to slow down at all. Just at this moment, a large net suddenly fell from the air and directly covered Samuel. General Ross, I fuck your whole family. At this time, Samuel felt that he had suffered a great humiliation. He thought of Samuel Stern, a famous doctor in the field of cell life science, and now he was caught in a net like a pet. Angry. Unwilling. Even a little regretful. If he hadn't betrayed Marfa, how could this happen? Roar. Another roar sounded. Samuel's blue-haired giant's image changed again. At this moment, claws like tiger claws suddenly grew on the fingertips of his hands. Swish. Swish. Samuel waved his claws and tried to cut the net covering him with his claws. However, the next moment, Samuel was dumbfounded. The claws that were indestructible in the past could not cut the giant net in front of him. No. Impossible. At this moment, a feeling of something bad immediately surged into Samuel's heart. Roar. Another earth-shaking roar. Samuel simply retracted his claws and directly grabbed the giant net, trying to break free from the shackles of the giant net by brute force. However, after trying several times, Samuel despairingly found that his huge strength could not do anything with the net. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. On the helicopter, General Ross's laughter reached Samuel's ears. I got the material for this net by chance. It was in Captain America's shield back then. It was originally prepared for that big guy. I didn't expect it. It's really fate. Ha ha ha. General Ross looked at Samuel in the vibranium net and felt happy. Fortunately, he got a piece of vibranium not long ago. Otherwise, it would not be easy to take down Samuel with ordinary guns and ammunition. Asshole, do you think you won like this? Samuel roared to the sky. Don't forget, I'm a doctor of biology. If I didn't have a backup plan, how could I dare to come here alone? Since you want to destroy me, I will make you go back empty-handed. After that, Samuel took out a potion and injected it into his body. This potion was designed by Samuel for MR. Green when he was MR. Blue. It has a good suppressing effect on the Hulk factor. In the original plot, Bruce Banner completely suppressed the Hulk factor in his body under the effect of this drug. If Bruce Banner had not jumped from the helicopter at the end, used his life to stimulate the Hulk consciousness in his body, and forcibly activated the Hulk factor, I am afraid that Bruce Banner could really maintain his human form and live a stable life. The reason why Samuel regards this drug as his last resort is mainly because this lucky serum is too rare. Samuel is not sure whether he can reproduce the lucky serum in the future after giving up this power. However, at this point, Samuel can't think about it anymore. If he is captured by General Ross, it is not impossible for him to die on the experimental table as a guinea pig. But if the Hulk factor in the body is eliminated first through this drug, Samuel will no longer be used as an experimental subject. In this way, with the experience of successful experiments, Samuel and General Ross will still have the possibility of cooperation. As expected, with the injection of the drug, Samuel's body immediately began to shrink. In just a blink of an eye, he turned back to his original appearance, and his blue hair completely retracted into his body. What did you do? Seeing Samuel inject himself with an unknown drug and then turn back into human form, General Ross couldn't help but be horrified. If his super soldier army was also shot by the enemy with this drug during the battle, wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Ho ha ho ha. General Ross, you underestimate me too much? Since I can turn myself into a successful experimental subject, I can naturally turn myself back. Now I'm just an ordinary human. Come on. Come and use me for experiments. Ha ha ha. You won't get anything. Samuel roared madly. At this time, General Ross's face was also gloomy. If everything was really as Samuel Stern said, he had just injected the antidote to the Hulk factor. Then all his previous efforts were equivalent to bubbles and meaningless. If there is one Samuel, there can be thousands of Samuels. No one can guarantee that the enemies that General Ross will face in the future will not develop the same medicine. Catch him back. Without saying anything else, General Ross directly ordered his men to take Samuel back. Words are not enough, everything must be based on facts. Whether Samuel's words are true or false, as long as a tube of blood is drawn and it can be verified. On the other side, California. With the help of Tony, Marfa has successfully found Eddie Brock. This kid is really good at hiding. He actually found a hospital and hid in the morgue. If it weren't for Jarvis's positioning and tracking, Marfa would probably have racked his brains and couldn't figure out that Eddie would hide here. But what surprised Marfa was that Eddie didn't carry the symbiote venom. He had never even seen this thing. You. Who are you? Are you from the Life Fund? Looking at the man in black robe and white mask in front of him, Eddie was horrified. What he saw and heard tonight was really too horrifying. First, the Life Fund conducted human experiments, then his colleagues turned into monsters, and now even if they hid in the morgue, they were found. The most important thing is that the masked man in front of him was still floating in the air. Combined with the current location, Eddie felt his hair stand on end, and he felt terrible. I'm not from the Life Fund. To be precise, I'm here to help you. Marfa pinched her throat with telekinesis and said, "Help me." Eddie calmed down a little and said, "That's right, otherwise how do you think you could get what you want so smoothly?" Hearing this, and thinking about the fact that he not only didn't encounter security personnel at the Life Fund, but even smashing the glass didn't trigger the alarm, Eddie couldn't help but believe it a little. "What do you want?" Eddie asked vigilantly. "Nothing, I just want you to stay here for a few days, and when the time comes, I will let you out. Of course, you can also deal with the things you took pictures by yourself. You will become famous and successful because of this, and then live a shameless life with Anne Wing for the rest of your life," Marfa said in a deep voice. But when he heard the name of Anne Wing, Eddie's pupils suddenly shrank. Anne Wing was the name of Eddie Brock's girlfriend. Since he could say this, it meant that the person in front of him must have investigated him. After thinking for a long time, Eddie finally agreed to Marfa's request. Mr. Mask, can we change places? You want to lock me up here for a few days, it doesn't seem appropriate," Eddie said weakly. This is the place you chose, blame me." After that, Marfa summoned Ziobe and asked him to keep a close eye on Eddie's every move. After leaving some food and water, Marfa used the teleportation ring to go directly back to the hotel. Chapter 118 Mark IV. It was almost dawn. It had been a very tiring night. When Marfa returned to the hotel, took a shower and lay down, a few rays of sunlight could be seen faintly on the horizon. "Alice. My life is so tiring." Just as he was about to go to bed, his cell phone rang again. He took a look and saw that it was another unknown call. Oh my god. Marfa's mentality was a little broken. Helplessly, he picked up the phone and answered the call. "Marfa Maximoff, are you in California now?" Hearing the voice, Marfa knew the other party's identity, Sitwell. "Yes, hey Lou. No, it's a task given by Nick Fury to let me investigate the Life Fund," Marfa said with a look of despair. "That's just right. Our members in the Life Fund have just received inside information that the Life Fund will launch Life 2 in 3 hours. It is said that a breakthrough has been made in the research of alien life. More experimental samples are needed to start the next step of research. Mr. Pierce hopes that you can submit a report on this matter. If this alien creature is helpful to strengthen the strength of the organization, it can be obtained at all costs when necessary. In addition, after solving this matter, you can go to Ohio again. According to the information uploaded by the intelligence personnel, Bruce Spanner appeared near Parma a day ago. If you find him, be sure not to act on your own. I will send Brock Rumlow to pick you up, and then you can follow his arrangements. Remember to keep this matter confidential from Nick Fury. Do you understand?" Sitwell said solemnly. "I understand, but California to Ohio is more than 3,000 kilometers. Can you reimburse me for the airfare?" Sitwell on the other end of the phone couldn't help but look dark after hearing Marfa's words. He took off his glasses and rubbed his temples. "It's so hard to be a leader. Did Hydra treat you badly? Which mission's bonus was too little? You still have the nerve to ask for reimbursement for a mere plane ticket?" Fortunately, Sitwell is an old agent who has been working for many years, so he was not so angry that he had a cerebral congestion. "Okay, I'll report it to you privately. Do things well. Minister Pierce is very optimistic about you." After that, Sitwell immediately hung up the phone and didn't want to say even one more word to Marfa. And Marfa analyzed what Sitwell had just said. First of all, Hydra infiltrated the Life Fund, and even its intelligence agents can be said to be spread all over the United States, so they can find Bruce Banner's traces in Ohio. Marfa also knows a little about this. If he didn't have this ability, how could he have directly controlled SHIELD in the plot of Captain America 2 without Nick Fury? Secondly, the Life Fund will launch a rocket in 3 hours. This means that the Riot has reunited with Carlton Drake. Otherwise, he would not be in such a hurry to launch the Life 2 spacecraft. Finally, Sitwell had seen his own strength and knew that Brock Rumlow was not his opponent at all. However, he still let himself find Banner and wait for Brock's arrangement. There is only one possibility for such an arrangement. Hydra does not trust him enough, and the Hulk is of great importance. Hydra obviously wants to take the lead in Nick Fury and control it. Well, let's make another hard trip. I didn't expect Banner to be so good at hiding. He actually lived in seclusion in Ohio. Does he want to be in the dark under the lamp? Marfa smiled lightly. Samuel Stern hasn't contacted for a long time. It's a good opportunity to get some more blood samples of the Hulk and send them to him. I guess that guy has almost used up the funds. Thinking of this in his heart, Marfa immediately got up from the bed again. The rocket will be launched in 3 hours. Although he didn't sleep all night, Marfa also knew that it was not time to sleep. The rooftop of the Life Fund building. Obadiah was wearing a black robe, wrapping himself tightly. At this moment, he was concentrating on watching the plants and trees around the building, just in case. 2 hours ago, after receiving a call from Carlton, Obadiah immediately abandoned the broken car that made him very annoyed, and flew back to the Life Fund without any scruples. Although he only brought back a piece of the symbiote's body, Carlton was not as annoyed as Obadiah expected. Instead, he asked him to help guard the Life Fund building, and no one was allowed to approach without Carlton's consent. Obadiah was naturally very dissatisfied with Carlton's attitude of using him as a bodyguard, and he almost had a fight with Carlton. Fortunately, in the end, Carlton seemed to have changed into a different person, and suddenly apologized to him. After explaining the interests of the matter, Obadiah was not an unreasonable person, and he immediately went to the rooftop. Has the research on symbiotes been successful? Humph, those miscellaneous soldiers are not very strong, but if we can get millions of them and build them into an army as Carlton said, it will be more than enough to conquer the world. Marfa, if it were you, you would probably take action. I'm really curious whether your skeleton robot that has mastered space technology can defeat the symbiote army. Obadiah thought with some anticipation. But what Obadiah didn't know was that his previous high-profile flight was discovered by S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't care at all. Because at this time, Tony Stark was flying rapidly towards the Life Fund in the Mark IV. The Mark IV here is not the light armor in the original plot, but the anti-steel armor developed by Tony based on the parameters recorded in the previous battle with Obadiah. In order to completely suppress Obadiah's terrifying power, the Mark IV is equipped with 3 miniature arc reactors, and its power can be said to be no less than that of Obadiah in close combat. Not only that, this time, Tony Stark spent a huge amount of money to integrate a lot of vibranium purchased at a high price from the black market on the basis of the gold-titanium alloy of Mark III. This made Mark IV's defense also make a qualitative leap. Although such a high-level transformation made Mark IV far less agile than Mark III, and even more troublesome to wear. It was contrary to Tony's early plan, but it didn't matter. This time, Tony's original intention of designing Mark IV was revenge, striving to suppress Obadiah completely in all aspects with the strongest firepower, the strongest defense, and the strongest strength, to wipe out the shame of the previous battle defeat. Jarvis, how long will it take us to get to the Life Fund? Tony in the armor asked excitedly. Sir, it's estimated to take another 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Satellite monitoring shows that Obadiah Stane is currently on the rooftop of the Life Fund building. Given the firepower of Mark IV, it is recommended that you move the battlefield. Otherwise, it is easy to cause unnecessary casualties. Jarvis reminded. Jarvis, search for a suitable place for combat nearby. This time I must make him kneel down in front of Pepper and repent. Tony said angrily. Sir, Maximoff and Mr. Maguire are also driving towards the Life Fund and are expected to arrive in 8 minutes. Ha. Okay, I didn't expect that I could be one step faster than Marfa this time. Not bad, not bad. Jarvis, we must capture Obadiah before Marfa arrives. Tony Stark knew that Marfa and Toby were both from S.H.I.E.L.D., so it was not surprising that Marfa would receive the arrest order from S.H.I.E.L.D. But if Marfa intervened, it would mean that the disposal of Obadiah would not be decided by him, Tony Stark. At that time, he would have to go and argue with S.H.I.E.L.D., which obviously did not conform to Tony's idea. Jarvis, go faster. Thinking of this, Tony immediately increased his flying speed. Chapter 119 Separate Actions. Marfa, this is Kelson. Mr. Stark is on his way to the Life Fund and is expected to arrive in 10 minutes. According to satellite monitoring, Obadiah is also there. You must arrive as soon as possible and remember to protect Mr. Stark. I will contact Barton to cooperate with you in this operation. In the car, Marfa listened to the voice coming from the other end of the phone and couldn't help but twitch his mouth slightly. Haha, did you make an appointment with Sitwell? Every time the phone call comes, it comes together. Mr. Principal, I also want to rush over. But the problem is that I have been on missions frequently recently, and I always ask for leave from school. I am worried that my scholarship will be lost again. You see. Carlson. Damn, I really want to fire this bastard. What should I do? Every time I have something to do with him, he asks me for a scholarship. Did Shield pay you? Or did you not give you a bonus when you went on a mission? Coulson scratched his head, which didn't have much hair to begin with, and felt that he was becoming more and more like the director. Maximov, don't worry. The school board is very satisfied with your excellent performance in school. Your name will definitely be on the scholarship list this semester. Coulson said with a sad face. How much? Marfa asked quickly. $50,000. This is the highest scholarship standard. Coulson only felt a little pain in his head and said truthfully. Goodbye, my car broke down. Marfa said with a pout, not noticing that Toby was holding back his laughter and tears were about to come out. Marfa, you have to stop it. Do you know how hard it was for me to beg Tony to give you 10 million last time? Do you know how long I stood stupidly at the door of his office for this? Do you know how long I was scolded by the director because of this? Please forgive me, please, let me be pitied by an honest person instead. Finally, Coulson broke out, and 2 lines of tears flowed down involuntarily. Mr. Principal, look at what you said, how about you introduce me to an honest man who can be cheated? Marfa stretched out her little finger and scratched her nose. Coulson. Okay, you win. I'll pay you 1 million myself. If I call you again next time, I'll be an idiot. Okay, Mr. Idiot, I'll wait for your next call. Marfa hung up the phone and then stepped on the accelerator. Coulson on the other side finally couldn't help it, and smashed the phone to pieces with a snap. No, I have to talk to the director, and let him share some of the money, a house. Woohoo, not to mention that Marfa was still rushing to the life fund. Tony Stark on the other side had already confronted Obadiah Stane. Look, who is this? An ungrateful wolf? You just ran away from the DC studio? To be honest, you look a lot like that guy. As soon as he came up, Tony Stark's poisonous mouth broke out. Ha ha ha. Just a defeated opponent. Look at you, I thought you would make your rubbish armor into something, but it turned out to be iron armor, little treasure. Ha ha ha. It was obvious that Obadiah, like Marfa, was also infected by Tony, and he immediately retorted. Iron armor. Little treasure. Damn, you bastard. Inside the Mark IV armor, Tony's face was dark and he looked furious. Mark IV was indeed a little fatter because of the pile of materials, but if he compared the armor he had worked hard to build to iron armor, little treasure, Tony would definitely not agree. Seeing Tony's defeat, Obadiah immediately felt much more relaxed. After all, in Obadiah's view, Tony and Marfa had contributed greatly to his current status as a wanted criminal. Old ghost, dare you fight me? Tony shouted. After all, he didn't want the fighting U-boy to kill some innocent employees in the life fund. Moreover, Marfa was rushing here now. Time was very tight and the task was very heavy. Tony could not delay any longer. Coincidentally, Obadiah thought so too. If the hull of the Life 2 spacecraft was damaged and could not be launched smoothly because of the competition between the two, then all his and Carlton's previous efforts would be in vain. So, the two people with their own ulterior motives flew in the same direction at the same time. More than 2 minutes later, the vehicle driven by Marfa arrived late. Toby, you and Zia Wong go to destroy the rocket and make sure it cannot be successfully launched. I will do the rest. Marfa ordered. Although both of them are non-staff agents of SHIELD, whether it is the ability of Spider-Man or Zia Wong, they were all given by Marfa, and even Toby's life was saved by Marfa. Therefore, Toby had no objection to Marfa's arrangement of himself. It's okay to dismantle the rocket, but that thing is quite expensive. Are you sure Coulson can afford it? Toby said weakly. Puff. This time Marfa really couldn't help laughing. Good for you, Toby Maguire. I didn't expect that you have learned all my skills after following me for such a short time. Marfa glanced at Toby secretly, and without saying anything, he came up and threw a soulfire talisman on the door of the life fund. Boom. The explosion sounded, and a big hole was blown through the door of the life fund by Marfa. Capture Carlton Drake on the orders of Phil Coulson, an agent of SHIELD. As soon as the voice fell, a large group of security personnel rushed out and surrounded Marfa. A group of security personnel looked at the man in front of them, wearing a black windbreaker hood and a pure white mask on his face, and looked at each other in bewilderment. The guns and electric batons in their hands were tightly held, revealing a vigilant look. Seeing this, Marfa immediately showed his ID. The certificate was engraved with an eagle with its wings spread, and the words National Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau were written on the ring around the eagle. I am Shadow, an agent of SHIELD, and I am here to arrest Carlton Drake under the orders of Phil Kelson. After saying that, Marfa immediately threw out an amulet. Summoning skeletons. Now that Riot has combined with Carlton, Ziobe naturally doesn't need to guard Eddie Brock anymore, so Marfa summoned Ziobe as soon as he came up. Kirakara. Since Ziobe had been summoned to this world before, when Marfa used the summoning skeletons technique again, Ziobe just teleported to Marfa's side, and there was no special effect scene of crawling out from the ground. Even so, seeing a white skeleton with an axe in hand appear in front of them also scared many security personnel. Are you planning to take me to find Carlton, or are you planning to test the power of my skeleton? After saying that, Ziobe chopped the ground with an axe in a very cooperative manner. The force of several tons combined with the sharpness of the axe immediately smashed a big hole in the marble floor. Kirakara. Ziobe waved the axe at the crowd, as if to say, I'm super fierce. Then, the boss is in the control room. I don't know who said this first, and then the crowd immediately made way for Marfa. What a joke, that's a marble brick slab, and it takes a lot of strength to smash a big hole with an axe. If it was chopped by the white skeleton in front of me, I'm afraid it would be split in half directly. Carlton Drake is suspected of illegal human experiments. I advise you to surrender to the nearby police station as soon as possible. As long as it does not involve illegal experiments of the Life Fund, the federal police will not embarrass you. If you are stubborn, Marfa snorted coldly and immediately walked in the direction pointed by the crowd. Are we going to the police station now? A security guard asked weakly. Why not? I'm just trying to make a living, why should I be charged with illegal human experiments? Looking at the gate that was blown up by Marfa, one of the security guards walked out of the building first. Hey, brother, wait a minute, don't you have to put the gun back before going over? If you're like this now, I'm afraid you'll be shot right away. Chapter 120 Iron Man World War II Cyborg. An open space 2 kilometers away from the Life Fund building. This was originally a place for Life Fund employees to do team building, but today, 2 strange guests arrived here. What are you? Sass. Ahem. Start over. Tony Stark. Obadiah Stane. As soon as the words fell, 2 figures with long tail flames cut through the sky and collided with each other. Bang! The sound of metal fists clashing rang out, and the strong wind blew the surrounding trees swaying. Not bad, you are much stronger than last time. Obadiah praised. You are not bad either, although you are bald, you have become stronger. Tony retorted without showing any weakness. Pa 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 pa. Pa 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 pa. Then the 2 of them fought like gangsters, and no one used hot weapons first. On the one hand, both of them were testing each other's strength, and on the other hand, they were eager to vent their anger. Obadiah hated Tony and Marfa for turning a billionaire into a homeless wanted criminal, and hated them for ruining his future. Tony hated Obadiah's betrayal, hated him for hiring the 10 rings to imprison him, and hated Obadiah for hurting Pepper. There was really no better way to vent their anger except with fists. Soon, the 2 of them fought dozens of times, but both Tony and Obadiah frowned. After all, Obadiah was a semi-mechanical life form, and the machine had little restraint on him. Therefore, in the previous fight, Obadiah hit Tony 36 times, while Mark IV, whose body became clumsy due to the stacking of materials, only hit Obadiah 12 times. In comparison, it is obvious that Cyborg defeated Iron Man. But family members know their own business. Obadiah is very clear about how strong his power is after being strengthened by the Hulk serum. But even so, wearing a full set of gold titanium alloy, he did not cause any damage to the Mark IV. And Tony, although he only hit Obadiah 12 times, each punch hit his flesh. If Obadiah was not strong enough, these few punches alone would have killed him. Not bad. It seems that you have found new materials. No wonder you dare to fight me like this. Obadiah shook his hands and said to Tony. Humph, I am more than that. Jarvis. Sir, I have analyzed the target's attack behavior habits. Jarvis's voice sounded beside Tony's ears, and Tony's face under the armor immediately showed a smile. But at this moment, roar. Accompanied by a roar, Obadiah's muscles began to swell immediately, and the gloves on his hands grew many rivets at this moment. Then a flash of blue electric light instantly wrapped Obadiah's body. Thunder Escape Steel Close Combat Mode is activated. Because he had suffered from Tony Stark's ability to absorb plasma cannons before, this time, Obadiah did not want to compete with Tony in long-range output. He relied on this extremely strong body. Under the stimulation of the arc, the Hulk factor in Obadiah's body seemed to be crazy, and powerful power continued to emerge, like a peerless beast. Tony, die? As soon as the voice fell, Obadiah's figure disappeared in an instant, and his speed was so fast that it was almost difficult to capture with the naked eye. Jarvis, is it okay? Everything is ready, sir. When making this set of armor mixed with vibranium, Tony discovered the characteristics of vibranium. Not only is the strength far beyond the gold titanium alloy used to manufacture spacecraft, once the vibranium is impacted, it can also store energy for a short time and concentrate all the previous impact force. Because of this, in the previous close combat, Tony knew that he was not agile, but he still fought with Obadiah. Obadiah, let me show you my new move. As soon as the words fell, Tony placed his hands on his waist in the shape of a calyx. Stark charge. As Tony pushed his hands forward, a powerful energy shock wave suddenly shot towards the direction where Obadiah was. Wherever it passed, even the air was distorted. You underestimated me. Seeing Tony use his big move, Obadiah did not hesitate at all and immediately switched his hands to plasma cannon form. Then he put his hands together, and the two barrels immediately combined into a thicker barrel. Super plasma cannon. In an instant, a blue electric snake as thick as a bucket sprayed out from the fingertips of Obadiah's hands. Soon, the Kamehameha wave collided with the ultimate flash. The two powerful energy flows collided with each other, trying to move forward without giving in to each other. Maybe it was because Tony was standing on the left this time, or maybe it was because Tony's move borrowed the power of Obadiah's previous attack on him, so it was weak in the follow-up. In short, Tony completely lost this time. The powerful electric snake broke through many obstacles and directly hit Tony's Mark IV. Sir, 140% energy. Tony had already calculated such an outcome. And Obadiah also realized at this time that things were not good. Oh no, I was fooled by this kid again. Obadiah said with a cold face, and immediately withdrew the electronic cannon barrels in both hands and replaced them with a full set with spikes. However, Tony was not willing to miss such a good opportunity. He immediately raised his palms flat and used the energy absorbed from Obadiah to use a full power palm pulse cannon. Bang! This time it hit hard. It really made Tony feel good. When the smoke and dust cleared, Obadiah was seen holding two tattered shields in each hand, revealing his figure in a dusty state. The ground under his feet was like it had been plowed by a cow, leaving two long gullies. Damn it! Blood was flowing from the corners of Obadiah's mouth. It was obvious that his two gold titanium alloy shields were not enough to block Tony's 140% energy super palm pulse cannon. If it weren't for the Hulk factor in his body, which greatly improved Obadiah's physical defense and vitality, this move alone would be enough to send him to the west. Obadiah, I named this armor the anti-steel armor. Do you know why? Since the last time I lost the battle with you, I have devoted myself to studying all your abilities. It is no exaggeration to say that this armor is made for you. Strong, durable, absorbs electrical energy, and rebounds damage. Tony patted his armor in a very showy manner. You deserve to be proud of me for designing a unique armor for you. After that, dozens of bullet holes appeared on the Mark IV, and a small missile warhead appeared in each bullet hole. As expected of you, in terms of weapons research and development, I did lose, and lost miserably. But if you think you can kill me like this, you underestimate me too much. After that, the arc on Obadiah's body lit up again. Then Obadiah turned around and shot away into the distance. He, actually, ran away. Tony couldn't believe his eyes. Saying the most domineering words, doing the most cowardly things. Jarvis, let's chase him. Obviously, Tony couldn't let Obadiah go like this, and immediately chased him in the direction where Obadiah ran away. Chapter 121 Cat and Mouse. Flowers bloom in two directions. Tony Stark is chasing Obadiah all over the world, while Marfa is not doing so well. The camera goes back and the moment Marfa steps into the control room, everyone looks at Marfa at the same time. Where is he? Marfa was surprised to find that Carlton was not on the control room. Could it be that the security guards are lying to me? Marfa thought so in his heart, but he quickly denied this idea. Judging from the situation just now, It is unreasonable for the security guards to protect Carlton at the cost of their own lives. Then the only explanation is that Carlton is still in the control room, or he has attracted the attention of all the security guards from the control room and left. The disguise technique of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is very advanced. In the plot of Captain America 2, Natasha, the Black Widow, replaced her face with that of a senior member of the Security Council with a small device. What's more, the symbiote originally has the ability to change clothes. If it is said that it can change a person's appearance, it seems reasonable. Therefore, Marfa cannot rule out the possibility that Carlton is hiding in the crowd in disguise. Damn, if I also have Jarvis at this time, it will be great. With Jarvis's supercomputing, I will definitely be able to see something from the micro-expressions of these people in front of me. After just thinking for a moment, Marfa quickly thought of a more direct way. Did Carlton combine with Riot? Then think about it in reverse. As long as Riot is found, wouldn't it mean that we can determine who Carlton Drake is? Who are you? Why did you suddenly break into the control room? Don't you know that you can't just come in here casually? The person in charge of the control room saw a man in a black robe and a white mask inexplicably breaking into the control room, and immediately walked out of the crowd and asked, Agent Shadow of SHIELD, ordered by Agent Phil Callison to arrest Carlton Drake. Marfa said coldly. Shield? I haven't heard of it. You must have an arrest warrant to arrest someone. Take it out for me to see, or I'll sue you. Swish. Before the other party finished speaking, Marfa's demon hunter was already on the man's neck. SHIELD never needs an arrest warrant to arrest someone. Agent Callison's will is above all else. After saying that, the demon hunter moved forward slightly. The sharp blade instantly cut the skin of the person in charge of the control room, and a trace of blood dripped along the blade. Seeing that the other party was so decisive, the person in charge shut up immediately. Xiao Bei. The supreme master of the martial arts world, Xiao Bei Zax. I command the world, and no one dares to disobey. If the demon hunter doesn't come out, who will compete with me? After saying that, Xiao Bei and Marfa looked at each other. Kara. Then, Xiao Bei raised his axe and chopped against Marfa's demon hunter. Buzz, the sword and axe intersected, and the demon hunter's blade instantly made a buzzing sound. As we all know, the most feared thing of the general symbiote, besides fire and high temperature, is the sound with a frequency of 4,000 to 6,000 Hz. And the reason why Marfa staged a Jin Yuang drama was precisely this buzzing sound. Sure enough, as the buzzing sound of the blade sounded, one person in the crowd immediately covered his head and showed a painful look. For a moment, everyone's eyes turned to that person. Huh? Who is this? Why have I never seen him before? Why is he wearing the uniform of our main control room? For a moment, discussions arose. Asshole. Damn SHIELD, ruining my good thing. But the man suddenly stood up from the ground, and a layer of silver-white mucus-like metal instantly gushed out of his body and wrapped him up. In the blink of an eye, the man turned into a silver devil muscle man about 3 meters tall. Ah! Monster. The crowd was in a panic, and for a moment everyone ran away with their heads in their hands, trying to get away from the terrifying monster in front of them. Give me your life. As Riot roared, his arms immediately extended to about 10 meters, and then turned into 2 huge sickle blades, cutting towards Marfa. Tisk, rubbish. Marfa glanced at Riot with disdain. Xiao Bei, keep going. Buzz. Another 2-axe sword clashes, and the buzzing sound immediately sounded again. Riot on the opposite side instantly retracted his arms, covered his head and roared in pain. Symbiotes are indeed very strong, but their weaknesses are too obvious. As long as they hold 2 hollow iron bars, anyone can completely suppress the symbiote. Of course, this does not include the 2 special cases in the comics. One is the yellow symbiote, Hela, because it has acquired sonic abilities from the first-generation host, it is immune to sonic suppression. The other is the symbiote, Serum, also known as anti-venom. The conditions for the birth of this guy are very complicated, and there is no obvious weakness at all. It can be said to be the best among the symbiotes. No matter how strong Riot was, even if he claimed to be the king of millions of symbiotes on the comet, he was still not immune to the 4,000 to 6,000 Hz sound wave suppression like the above 2 special cases. And Marfa took advantage of this defect of the symbiote and controlled Riot. Marfa held a demon-slaying weapon in his left hand and kept slashing at Xiao Bei. He also took off his shoes with his right hand. Pa. Without any mercy, Marfa directly slapped Riot in the face with the sole of his shoe. Riot, right. Buzz. Pa. Another hard slap. Give me your life, right. Buzz. Pa. Continue to slap. Damn Earthling, I'll kill you. Riot covered his head, which was deformed by the slap, with one hand and pressed his chest with the other hand, revealing an extremely painful and hideous face. Buzz. Snap. Kill me, right. Dot. Fuck you all. Buzz. Snap. Fuck you, right. At this moment, Riot's mentality collapsed. Young man, you don't have martial ethics, you'll get what you deserve. Knowing that he was no match for his opponent, Riot had no intention of staying to humiliate himself. After leaving these words, Riot immediately jumped into the crowd, grabbed a few people and threw them at Marfa. Then, while Marfa's vision was blocked, he ran out of the door. Hell, you dare to run? If you were parasitizing Hulk or Toby, maybe I would be a little afraid, but unfortunately, you are parasitizing just an ordinary human. The battle between us has not even started, and the outcome has been doomed. Marfa muttered to himself, and immediately controlled the telekinesis to fly up, and then chased in the direction where Riot had slipped away. Obadiah, Obadiah, where are you? Come and save me. Carlton Drake shouted frantically in the wireless communicator. Scream. Scream you mabby, scream. I'm being hunted by Tony. Obadiah's angry curse came from the other end of the communicator. Obviously, the situation on Obadiah's side was also quite bad at this time. Because Obadiah had been seriously injured in the previous battle with Tony, and his super electromagnetic cannon really consumed a lot of energy. In addition, now he's running away at full power. Obadiah can be said to be exhausted at this moment. After all, unlike Tony Stark, Obadiah uses bioenergy, and no matter how strong bioenergy is, it has its limits. But Tony, his energy source is all batteries, and even once the energy of the micro-arc reactor is exhausted, he can replace it immediately. Plug and unplug, plug and play, it can be said to be extremely convenient. As the saying goes, one section of Nanfu energy ring is better than 6 sections. This is the current Tony Stark. As the two chased each other, Tony gradually discovered this. At first, it was still very difficult for Mark IV to catch up with Cyborg, and it was all thanks to the help of Jarvis' satellite positioning. But gradually, Tony found that the electric light bursting from Obadiah became weaker, and similarly, Obadiah's speed also decreased a lot. Even in the end, Tony was not in a hurry to chase, just hanging far away, quite like a beast playing with its prey before eating. In short, this feeling is wonderful. Sir, Mr. Maximoff requests communication. Okay, connect. Tony's mood at this moment can be said to be better than ever, and naturally he doesn't mind sharing his joy with Marfa. Tony, where are you? Didn't you say you were at the Life Fund? Marfa, like Tony, said happily while chasing chaos. Oh, nothing, I'm playing cat and mouse now. To be honest, I like this game. Tony really hated that he didn't have a glass of red wine in his hand at this moment, otherwise this pretense would be even better. Really? What a coincidence. I'm also playing cat and mouse. It's nothing. My principal just called me and asked me to keep an eye on you and not let you get killed. Marfa said jokingly. Have you ever seen a cat killed by a mouse? Tony rolled his eyes under the Mark IV visor. Yes. What's the matter? A cat killed by a mouse? Haha, Marfa has seen Shukabita, how could he not have seen it? Tony. There's no way to chat today. Unlike Tony and Marfa who were relaxed and comfortable, Carlton, Riot, and Obadiah all looked gloomy at this moment. Ah, hey. Be serious, please. Don't we have any face? Chapter 122 The Final Struggle. The cat and mouse game is only a warm-up exercise for cats before eating, and it cannot continue forever. Seeing that Carlton was about to board the rocket, Marfa was anxious. If nothing unexpected happened, the engine device of the rocket should have been destroyed by Toby. In other words, if it was forced to ignite and take off, it would either fail to start or explode directly. Marfa didn't want the fat meat in his mouth to be blown to death. Carlton, you stand still, or I will blow up this rocket directly. Marfa yelled. Sure enough, with Marfa's roar, Riot finally stopped moving forward. After all, the Earth today has not reached the level of interstellar civilization, and it takes a long time for the rocket to take off. Riot may not know this, but as the CEO of the Life Fund, Carlton knows it very well. After a little thought, Riot immediately released the symbiote form and turned back into a human. Agent of SHIELD. Shadow, right? I just learned your identity from the surveillance, and you have also seen the strength I have shown before. I think there is no need for us to fight to the death. Although I was born in the UK since I was a child, due to my family background, I have seen the warmth and coldness of human feelings, and countless relatives and friends have died in front of me. Therefore, I am determined to build a new world without pain, and this is how the Life Fund came into being. But gradually, I found that I was wrong. The real disease of mankind is not physiological, but greed. Overexploitation of the Earth's environment, overexploitation of Earth's resources, and excessive emission of pollution. Look up, how many stars can you still see in the sky now? Carlton became more and more excited as he spoke, and even had a faint sense of pointing fingers at the mountains and rivers. However, a stream of silver-white mucus was faintly flowing out from his feet, which penetrated through the hollow hanging ladder and quietly crawled towards Marfa. Sir, I would like to ask, how many generations can this Earth last? Do you want to see your descendants living in garbage and waste forever? Therefore, it is urgent for humans to go to the universe. But look, with the current technology of human beings, is it enough to support the entire planet's creatures to migrate to a new habitat together? No. But I can. As long as we combine with the symbiont, humans can evolve to a higher level of life, so that they can adapt to more planetary environments. In this way, we can easily find a new habitat. Mars? Enceladus? These will become the new home of mankind. Come on, join me. I am the hope of the Earth. Only I, Carlton Drake, can bring light and a future to all mankind. At this moment, Carlton Drake was like a cultist, preaching his beliefs, trying to use this to make Marfa give up chasing him. And Marfa? According to what Carlton said, he looked up at the sky. There are indeed no stars. Nonsense, no. It's morning now, and your sun has already got up, okay. Marfa rolled her eyes and looked at Carlton as if he was looking at a fool. The hope of mankind? Haha. Isn't this something that Stephen Strange can handle by himself? Just send him to study with the Ancient One for a few years, and then ask the Ancient One to help find a planet suitable for human survival. With Stephen's ability to directly open a portal from Titan to Earth, is there still a need for symbiotes? Moreover, Marfa does not agree with Carlton's view that if the planet is destroyed, they will all run away. Humanity is constantly progressing, and more people are aware of environmental issues. In the first Spider-Man movie, Dr. Octopus has artificial sun technology, and in Marvel, whether it is the energy crystal of the cosmic cube or Tony Stark's arc reactor technology, they are all clean and efficient energy sources. Marfa believes that in the future, mankind will only get better and better, and will not go down the path of destruction with the Earth as Carlton said. Marfa, who knows more about the Marvel Universe, has been on a different level from Carlton from the beginning. The asymmetry of information directly led to the day when there will be no day when the two people will have the same ideas. Have you finished? If you're done, go die. Really, as a villain, you have no self-awareness at all, and you keep nagging endlessly. After saying that, a talisman appeared in Marfa's palm. Just at this moment, a silver-white mucus suddenly jumped out from under Marfa's feet. It covered Marfa like a big net. At the critical moment, a golden spider silk shot out from the side and stuck to the silver-white mucus. Then, with a golden spider silk swung, the silver-white mucus was directly thrown dozens of meters away. Marfa, you kid, why are you listening to him nagging for so long? I almost fell into his calculations just now. I saw a golden figure flashing by, and the golden Spider-Man Toby rolled in the air and came to Marfa. Are you Marfa? Marfa Maximoff. As if he had heard some shocking secret, Carlton immediately showed an incredible look. His eyes were wide open, his chin slightly opened, and he obviously couldn't believe what he just heard. Are you a pig? I've been wearing this mask for so long in vain. After saying that, Marfa took off the pure white mask on his face and looked at Toby with a look of regret. Sorry, I forgot that this was a mission. But, it doesn't matter, Carlton is the only outsider here. Just kill him. No one will know your identity. Toby said indifferently. Huh? Hearing this, Marfa immediately looked at Toby with a look like a monster. Where is the Spider-Man who promised not to kill? How come he is so indifferent to killing after just collecting the protection fee? This Spider-Man seems to be going further and further on the wrong path. As the saying goes, those who are close to zoo are red, and those who are close to ink are black. Recently, Toby has been competing with the Kingpin gang for territory, and he can be said to have seen the ferocity and viciousness of the Kingpin gang. Although Toby is still kind at this time, the bottom line in his heart has long been blurred. As long as the mind is clear, knowing what to do and what not to do is fine. Human life is worthless. If killing a few people can save more people, Toby will definitely do it without hesitation. This is the so-called environment-affecting personality. Marfa's Spider-Man blackening plan has been more than half successful. No, I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything. Compared to Toby's indifference, Carlton was shocked at this time. Originally, he couldn't beat Marfa with Riot, and now there is a golden warrior with unknown strength and decisive killing. What's the point of fighting? It was at this time that Riot, who was thrown far away by Toby, finally returned to Carlton. Sandstorm, are you really going to betray me? Riot looked at Toby with a sinister face. You don't understand, this is not betrayal, but, from the heart, yes, from the heart. If you have any questions, you can fight with this guy, I believe you will understand me. Toby pointed at Marfa beside him. Obviously, Sandstorm controlled Toby's body and talked to Riot. Traitor. Don't forget that we still have thousands of our kind waiting for us in the universe. If we don't take them over, they will only face death. Are you sure you want to give up the entire race for your own selfishness? Riot narrowed his eyes and stared at Toby. His eyes were so sharp that he would kill him immediately if Toby said a wrong word. Riot didn't know whether Marfa was strong or not, but judging from Marfa's previous methods, Riot didn't think Marfa would be strong. Otherwise, why would he use sound waves, a method of restraining symbiotes, to hunt him down? Therefore, in Riot's view, as long as he could win over Sandstorm and Toby's body again, the two of them would join forces and it might be possible to reverse the situation. Alice. Ignorance is bliss. Marfa sighed secretly. The light of temptation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Zai obeys godly assist. With the skill of temptation light, Marfa came to a space of consciousness again. Unlike the previous reporter A, the space of consciousness here is like an independent world, with flowers, trees, birds, beasts, fish and insects. Some animals and plants Marfa can name, but some are not earth creatures at a glance, which is a different scene. So this is what the symbiont should look like after successfully parasitizing the host? The two are interdependent, sharing what they have, and becoming a higher life form. Even the space of the sea of consciousness has changed because of this. The situation of the previous reporter is probably more about Xylan wanting to completely devour the reporter's consciousness and replace it, and there is no intention of symbiosis at all. Looking at the scene in front of him, Marfa thought to himself. Soon, a silver-white figure about 15 meters tall appeared in Marfa's sight, and on the shoulders of this silver-white figure, there was a human about 2 meters tall. There is no doubt that this is the projection of Carlton and Riot's spiritual consciousness. If you look closely, you can also find that the two have been connected by a hose at this time. Obviously, this is a manifestation of mutual acceptance between Carlton Drake and Riot. I didn't expect that Carlton Drake has such talent. Seeing this, Marfa couldn't help but sigh. According to Marfa's usual conversations with those Marvel fans in his previous life, Marfa also knew some information about Marvel Comics. There are not many examples of mutual acceptance with symbiotes. Most of them are just suppressed by the consciousness of the symbiote or directly swallowed and reduced to puppet-like existence. Among them, the few responsible agents, Flash Thompson, Eddie Brock, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Deadpool, Wade Winston Wilson, are obviously special. And now, Carlton Drake can do this, which is really beyond Marfa's expectations. To put it in a figurative way, Eddie's situation is like a Jinchuriki recognized by the tailed beast among the gay ninjas. Even if he has not reached the level of a perfect Jinchuriki, he is enough to use most of the power of the tailed beast. As for those like Reporter A, they are similar to Gaara in his childhood. Not only can they not control the power of the tailed beasts, but they may even be attacked by this power at any time. Seeing this, Marfa also understood that in the current situation, it is impossible to subdue Riot like they did with Yellow and Blue. Now Riot and Carlton have reached a cooperation of will, and the two can be said to advance and retreat together. If they want to get Riot, then the only way is to imitate Madara and directly control him. Thinking of this, Marfa no longer hesitated, and immediately mentioned the demon slang and rushed towards Riot. Ha, I didn't expect you to be able to come here. I have to say that this is definitely the stupidest decision you have ever made. Carlton on the opposite side mocked. Although Carlton didn't know what Marfa's more than 20-meter body meant, Carlton knew that this was his home court. Coupled with the existence of Riot, at this moment he only felt that he was stronger than ever. Since you are unwilling to devote your strength to the future of mankind, then you can die. As soon as the voice fell, the huge silver figure of Riot bent his legs, and then suddenly exerted force, and also rushed towards Marfa. Come on. Marfa's eyes flashed, holding a sword in one hand, and immediately slid sideways to avoid Riot's attack. Then, when Riot's old strength was gone and new strength had not yet been generated, he immediately swung his sword and stabbed. However, the next moment, Marfa was dumbfounded. Riot suddenly shot out several slime tentacles from his body, and then he pulled hard, and actually moved horizontally for more than 10 meters, easily avoiding Marfa's attack. Fuck, this guy is fouling. Marfa complained wildly in his heart. Marfa cannot use skills when using the light of temptation to project his spiritual consciousness. This has been known from the previous test. But Riot's ability to transform does not fall into the category of superpowers. It is a characteristic of the symbiote's life form. Therefore, even in the sea of consciousness, it can be used normally like the outside world. In this way, even if Marfa's spiritual avatar is 30% higher than Riot, it is very difficult to completely suppress Riot and leave a spiritual imprint on him. Therefore, as Natasha's direct disciple, although Marfa's talent in fighting skills is far inferior to Pietro, he is also quite skilled. And what about Riot? Although he is like a dwarf in front of Marfa because his mental will is not as strong as Marfa's, he can fight back and forth with Marfa by relying on his physical characteristics. In this way, the two fought for about half a cup of tea, and no one got the upper hand. Even because of the cooperation between Carlton and Riot, Marfa was still at a disadvantage. Damn, it would be great if I could use skills. At this point in the battle, Marfa already felt bad. If it weren't for his fighting skills, he might have been defeated by Riot. It's like an adult strong man who knows a little kung fu and a teenager with superpowers. Although the strong man has physical advantages such as strength, his boxing and kicking skills are no match for superpowers. Moreover, this is the opponent's home court, which is more or less more conducive to Riot's strength. It can be imagined that if the fight continues, Marfa will inevitably lose after a long time. Just when Marfa was about to exit the consciousness space of Carlton and Riot, suddenly, bang! Accompanied by a buzzing sound, all the scenery in the consciousness space began to become blurred. In Marfa's eyes, it was like a painting falling into the water, and all the colors and lines began to become distorted and diffused. Carlton on the opposite side was fine, but Riot's figure suddenly shrank to less than 5 meters in size. Ha, Xiaobei, you are really my lucky star. There is no doubt that the one who can do such a thing must be Xiaobei. After all, Toby also has a symbiote in his body, so he can't do this. The camera moves to the real world. At the moment when Marfa used the light of temptation, Xiaobei immediately raised his axe and chopped the metal plank road under his feet. A sharp buzzing sound rang out, and Toby, who was standing beside him, immediately fell to his knees. Xiaobei, what are you doing? Toby said with a look of pain. Ignoring Toby, Xiaobei was still happy to do this kind of work that didn't require him to die. Although Xiaobei's movements were almost synchronized with Marfa's light of temptation, because there was a huge time difference between the consciousness space and the real world, this seemingly synchronized noise only appeared after Marfa had fought with Riot for a long time. The situation reversed, and seeing this great opportunity in front of him, how could Marfa miss it? Immediately, while Riot was stunned, he rushed over and cut off the hose connecting Riot and Carlton with a sword. Then, without saying anything, he stabbed the demon into the Riot's forehead. By Shinshin. Ahem, mental imprint, activate. Chapter 124, Pot King Kelson. After a moment, as Marfa's spiritual consciousness projection was lifted, it also meant that the war was completely over. Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot. The bonus game time is 4,000 minutes, and the current remaining game time is 8,360 minutes. 4,000 minutes. So much? Listening to the system prompts in his ears, Marfa was really shocked. After all, since the awakening of the system, this is the most single bonus game time. Just thinking about it, Marfa was quickly relieved. Unlike in the past, this time the system obviously packaged this venom plot as a reward. Marfa first subdued Xiao Wang and Xiao Lan, and then subdued Riot Xiao Yin. He also replaced Venom and defeated Carlton Drake. Moreover, the chess piece Obadiah left behind before also prompted the birth of the anti-cyborg armor Mark IV. Antony and Obadiah's second game obviously exceeded the scope of the original plot. It seems that 4,000 minutes of reward for so many deflections is not a lot. With so many point cards, Marfa naturally considered retreating for a while as soon as possible. If the point cards were not converted into strength, no matter how many point cards there were, they would only be numbers. Especially in the previous battle with Riot's consciousness projection, Marfa almost returned empty-handed, which made Marfa alert. Unlike the battle between Tony and Obadiah, the battle between Marfa and Riot was silent. However, only Marfa knew the thrill during the period. If it were not for Xiaobei's divine assist, it might take a lot of effort to defeat Riot. Xiaobei, you did a good job. I'll give you the first credit this time. Marfa patted the skeleton beside him and said, Kirakura. Xiaobei opened his mouth and made a sound of bone friction. Then he saw Xiaobei walk directly to Carlton Drake. Kirakura. Kirakura. Marfa didn't know what Xiaobei said, but the next second, Riot separated from Carlton and then pounced on Xiaobei's skeleton. Master, I can finally speak. With the help of Riot, Xiaobei finally succeeded in transforming into human form. But the problem is, Xiaobei looks like Leonardo DiCaprio? Marfa. Toby. Xiaobei, aren't you going too far? You made yourself look like this. If I take you out in the future, won't I be embarrassed? In fact, it's not Marfa's fault. Although Marfa has good genes and silver hair, he can be said to be a handsome guy. But if he is compared with the anti-human appearance of Xiao Lizzie, he is still a little inferior. When Titanic was released, Xiao Lizzie's appearance could be said to have fascinated thousands of girls. If he hadn't grown ugly later, he would probably have become a Hollywood legend. At this time, Xiaobei's appearance transformed by Riot is exactly Leonardo at the peak of his appearance. Xiaobei, explain to me why you suddenly smashed the metal ladder just now. I was almost shocked by you and fell down from the high school. Soon, Toby reacted first and quickly blamed Xiaobei. Oh, who are you? Xiaobei said innocently. Toby. Master, I like this look very much. Give me the Riot. Xiaobei widened his watery eyes and looked at Marfa with stars in his eyes. No, stay away from me, otherwise people will think I have some quirks. Marfa took 2 steps back with a look of disgust. There is still a big difference between the Taoist version of the Light of Temptation and the Mage version. If the Mage version of the Light of Temptation is similar to Loki controlling Barton with a mind gem, then the Taoist version is more like the God of Heaven. By leaving a mental imprint in the target's sea of consciousness, an absolutely loyal will is imposed on the target, and it will not affect the target's original memory, ability and way of thinking. Putting aside the various problems in the process of performing skills, the Taoist version is obviously better in terms of the control effect. Because only by allowing the target to inherit all past memories can its combat ability be better exerted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as everyone was discussing the next plan, a helicopter flew over quickly from a distance and hovered above everyone's head. Then, a man in a black tight combat uniform with a bow and arrow on his back slid down a cable. Clint Francis Barton, an agent of SHIELD, is here to assist you with matters related to the Life Fund under the order of the director. Seeing the man coming, Marfa's mouth twitched. Haha, the body collectors are here. Is this the fucking SHIELD always like this? Do they have to wait until things are over before they show up? Oh, wait, it seems that I am an agent of SHIELD, so I blamed the wrong SHIELD? Why do I always feel that something is wrong? Marfa was full of doubts. Okay, then I'll leave the rest to you. I've beaten Carlton into an idiot, you can take him away. There's also a body sample of the symbiote venom in his office, you can do whatever you want. The symbiote Sandstorm has already combined with Toby, so it's impossible to take it down. I haven't found the other symbiote, you can find it yourself. Oh, by the way, There's a Los Angeles Times reporter named Eddie Brock who sneaked into the Life Foundation not long ago and took pictures of all the evidence of their human experiments. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a report on the New York Times official website. I'll trouble you to help me edit the report later. I mean, help me write an action report and hand it over to the director. Marfa stuck out her tongue, thinking that she almost let it slip. How can I say edit? It's too imprecise. Barton. Good boy, Hawkeye, I'm here to help you clean up the mess. And what do you mean by writing a report? Don't you have to do this yourself? 1 hour later, Barton walked out of Carlton's office at the Life Foundation with a dark face. Good fellow. According to the data, there are 4 symbiotes in total. 1 was lost when they first arrived on Earth, 1 was killed by Obadiah, 1 was taken by Toby, and you told me that you didn't find the other one? Can you make it up a little more? Are you insulting my intelligence? Barton secretly complained in his heart. Needless to say, the last remaining symbiote named Phantom must have been deceived by Marfa. Of course, Barton was very dissatisfied with this. After all, how could you get benefits for yourself under the pretext of carrying out a mission? However, according to Carlton's research report, not everyone is suitable for symbiotes. If they are not genetically compatible, it will cause the body to decay rapidly. Since Marfa and Toby can both control symbiotes, this is not a bad thing. At least they are both from SHIELD. As the saying goes, good things should not flow to outsiders. Barton finally decided to inform the director first before making a decision. What Barton didn't know was that Marfa had never combined with a symbiote, and what he had in his hand was not just a phantom. Leonardo, who had just met Barton, was the symbiote that was said to be lost in the file. Riot. Washington, SHIELD Trident Headquarters. Coulson, you'd better explain to me what SHIELD does not need an arrest warrant to arrest people, and what Phil Coulson's will is above everything else. After saying that, Nick Fury immediately played the video of Marfa arrogantly smashing the door of the Life Fund and what he said afterwards to Coulson. The title of the video is, Shocking. The mysterious organization SHIELD actually ignores human rights. A mysterious organization has appeared. Who is Phil Coulson? Phil Coulson, those secrets you don't know. What can save you? The free will of America. Fuck, Marfa, you bastard, you dare to frame me. At this moment, Coulson was crazy. He never expected that Marfa would put such a big blame on Coulson. If this matter gets out of hand, let alone SHIELD and the Security Council, I'm afraid the entire United States will not be able to tolerate him. Do you know where this video came from? Nick Fury asked coldly. Coulson was confused at the moment, and he didn't care where it came from. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all social platforms, they are all there. Coulson, congratulations, you have become an internet celebrity. Coulson, equals, director, this is really not what I said, it was all Marfa, that bastard who framed me. You have to make the decision for me. I reported it under my real name, and Marfa still blackmailed me for $1 million. Coulson said with a face full of resentment. Well, change your name. I can't protect Phil Coulson anymore. I will hand him over to the FBI. From today on, your name is Clark Gregg. Here is your ID. After that, Nick Fury threw a file bag in front of Coulson. Coulson. Damn it, the director wants me to take the blame. Clark Gregg, how can such a stupid name be worthy of a great Coulson like me? P.S. You can search this name on Baidu. Looking at Nick Fury's serious look, Coulson, oh, no. It should be Clark, just felt his heart bleeding. New York, Osborne Industrial Building. Andrew Garfield walked out of the building. He was bitten by a spider just now. Now he just felt dizzy. In a trance, he actually fell asleep on the subway. Chapter 125 Andrew's Incident. Unlike the original plot, with Toby's example, Andrew Garfield can be said to have been targeted by Natasha Romanoff for a long time. Whether it is the names of their father, mother, uncle, aunt, or family situation, Toby and Andrew are exactly the same, as if they are the same person in the mirror. What's more coincidental is that both of them are students of Midtown High School. With the intuition of many years of agent career, Natasha believes that these coincidences are definitely not accidental, so she specially arranged 2 agents to take turns to watch Andrew 24 hours a day. Sure enough, as Andrew woke up from the subway and had a big fight with a group of people, Natasha got the relevant information as soon as possible. Of course, This also confirmed her guess. I didn't expect that such a strange thing really happened in this world. Natasha looked at the information about Andrew and Toby in her hand and fell into deep thought. Since there are already two, will there be a third, or even a fourth, or a fifth? Once this thought came up, it was like an indelible spell, making Natasha unable to sleep all night. So, Natasha immediately called up all the people named Charlie, Mary, May, and Ben in the United States. Sure enough, Natasha soon made a new discovery. Peter Parker, 8 years old. Father, Charlie Parker. Mother, Mary Parker. And Marissa Tomei, although this Aunt May is a bit far-fetched. After all, whether it is Toby or Andrew, they are all Aunt May, but Peter is also raised by May like Toby and Andrew. Now that Peter is still young and Marissa is not old, it cannot be denied that Marissa will marry a person named Ben in the future. Haha, this is so interesting. If someone had told Natasha about fatalism before, Natasha would definitely not believe it, but from the moment she saw Andrew and Toby could be attached to the subway ceiling, Natasha believed it. It's a pity that I don't know my parents' names, otherwise I would really like to meet another me. Natasha thought so, and immediately picked up the phone and dialed Toby's number. At this time, Toby was following Marfa happily in the terminal waiting for the flight to Ohio. Ah. Are you kidding? Toby was really shocked when he heard Natasha say that Andrew Garfield from the same school seemed to have acquired the same ability as himself. Could it be that Columbia University's Research Institute has created a few more super spiders? Fortunately, Natasha soon denied her guess. It has been a long time since Andrew went to Columbia University's Research Institute for study. If Andrew awakened his superpowers at that time, it doesn't make sense for him to show it until now. Natasha doesn't think an ordinary high school student would be so cunning. Okay, I understand. I will change the flight and return to New York immediately. After that, Toby hung up the phone directly. The super spiders at Columbia University were all bred by the same batch of mother spiders. If Andrew really awakened his ability at the same time as Toby, then he would have a blood resonance with Toby, just like Flash did at the beginning. But the fact is that after that, Toby also met Andrew several times, but Toby did not sense anything from him. This made Toby suspicious. Did someone do some research on his or Flash's body tissues, and thus mastered the technology of mass-producing Skynet? If this is true, it would be terrible. No one knows the power of this force better than Toby. If it is just an individual case, it is not bad. If it is really mass-produced, if there are tens of thousands of Skynets, I am afraid that an invincible army can be formed. The more Toby thought about it, the more scared he became. No, I must find out the truth about this matter. Toby clenched his fists and thought secretly in his heart. That? Marfa, Andrew Garfield, you still remember, the one in Wanda's class. Toby frowned and said. Hearing this, Marfa felt that things were not simple. Why did Toby suddenly mention him? I'm afraid he is the same as me. If someone masters the technology to copy me, I'm afraid the whole world will face a crisis. Toby and Natasha have different ideas. He does not believe in the so-called fatalism, and prefers to believe that some people or forces are secretly doing something. The same? Wait, you mean? Marfa also made a gesture of ejecting spider silk. Sure enough, Toby nodded slightly and gave Marfa an affirmative answer. This time it was Marfa's turn to be upset. You know, in the original plot, neither Toby nor Garfield became Spider-Man. However, with Marfa's intervention, Toby can be said to have changed his fate against the will of heaven, and only then did he get one step ahead of Peter and become Spider-Man. But what is the reason for Andrew? Could it be that there are other travelers in this world besides himself? It's terrifying to think about it. Let's do this, Toby. I'll go back to New York with you. This matter can be big or small. We must find out the reason. Marfa said solemnly. But aren't you going to Ohio? Hearing that Marfa was going back to New York with him, Toby was immediately moved. After all, it was another self that appeared this time, and Toby had a reason to go. But Marfa was willing to give up her original plan and go back to New York for her sake. He was familiar with Marfa and naturally knew that Marfa suddenly said she wanted to go to Ohio, a place he had never been to, and that she must have something important to do, but even so, Marfa still put herself first. Marfa. I know you have always taken good care of me. But Actually I still like girls more. And you. We are really not suitable. After hesitating to say this, Toby shyly stepped back a little. Marfa. Zio Wong, get him. As Marfa's voice fell, The sandstorm parasitic in Toby's body immediately started to make trouble. As the glands were constantly stimulated by the sandstorm, a large amount of male hormones gushed out of Toby's body. Then, Toby felt a burst of heat all over his body. Even a fly flying by seemed to become handsome in his eyes. No. Sandstorm, you can't do this. I'm really not gay. Please let me go. My heart for girls will never change. Toby said righteously, which immediately attracted the attention of the people around him. Damn, you Sandstorm, I have always felt that you are yellow shit and must not be a serious thing. I just asked you to teach Toby a lesson, but you actually did this to me. Feeling the strange eyes of the people around him, Marfa suddenly felt that he had lost all his face and immediately left the terminal with Toby. In the toilet cubicle of Los Angeles Airport in California, Marfa used the teleportation ring to open the dimensional channel to New York, and then kicked Toby in. After some consideration, Marfa finally decided to leave Andrew's matter to Toby for the time being. Regardless of whether there are other travelers like him, at least with Toby's current strength, it will not be a problem to find out first. After all, there is a Hydra mission in Ohio, and it is related to Bruce Banner. Marfa is still counting on Samuel Stern to develop the Hulk serum without side effects for him. Hey, wait, Samuel Stern? It seems that we haven't contacted for a long time. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately picked up the phone and called the other party. However, Samuel had been imprisoned by General Ross at this time, so how could he answer the phone? Can't get through. Is he busy or for some other reason? Marfa instinctively felt that something was wrong, and immediately used the teleportation ring to locate the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Then a white light flashed, and the space in front of Marfa was immediately torn open by it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.